Greetings in the name of the Most High John Rastafari. This is your Jen, Sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny. And if you want to get formal, listen, Miss Jennifer Frederick. And I'll be the show that we told you thing unfiltered. People, this is the start of the week. Well, it started yesterday. Today is another day. And we have to thank Jah for all the blessings that we have. Um, Let me start this thing right now because I have plenty things to talk today. Tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody to log on. And we must have the pledge of Trinidad and Tobago.
I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of my God and my country. I will honor my parents, my teachers, my leaders, and my elders, and those in authority. I will be clean and honest in all my thoughts, my words, and my deeds. I will strive in everything I do to work together with my fellow men of every creed and race for the greater happiness of all and the honor and glory of my country.
So my peeps, we have an order here. We do some good news, what is history, what is sports news, but we always have something to play to give you either a smile on your face or bring joy to your heart or bring knowledge to feed your brain, right? So I just saw this little clip here, it's not long. It's what a youth man, anything I see with dance, I just be intrigued. So what's small man here? That kind of rhythm from now. Imagine when he gets older, especially if his parents keep him in that that space with dance and he wants to do it. I could see him being a professional in no time. You all know that I have a passion for especially people with Down syndrome. My partner, my pumpkins, is Down syndrome. So children who with a Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, have special ed in terms of as they call them, slow learners. I always, when I see anything that could promote them or in any space I could promote, I do so. So I saw this and director brought it to my attention and I found it to be so beautiful because it's simply about understanding these children. I call them angels without wings. I think they teach us how to love, how to love honestly and truthfully because they are so sincere and honest in what they do. I don't think they even understand what it is to be deceitful. I don't think they are underhand and underneath. I don't think they understand the full concept of that. They may do some things, and that is what they mirror from seeing other people do. But to say bad mind and jealous people. I do think they have that type of hang-ups as we who quote unquote normal have. So I saw this, and again, you just have to understand them and find a rhythm with them, and then listen, they blossom so beautifully. So this is a young guy who is autistic, I think it is, getting a haircut. He didn't like to cut his hair before, and apparently his barber worked out something that he feels comfortable enough to have it done. So watch this. Hope you enjoy.
So you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi.
Hi. Awesome job, man. I'm so proud of you.
Hey, stop. Stop. Now let's go. Hey, stop. Hey, stop. Hey, stop. Hey, stop. Stop.
Hey, we finished.
Once you make it fun for them, I remember a time I was having a discussion with somebody because when I was at U, we were doing we were treating with an area of psychology that was dealing with the elderly and stuff, right? And some people were talking that there are some elderly persons who you may find that they sent offensive, and you might say, well, why they not having a shower and all that? And then when we read about it and in speaking with our lecturer and stuff, she was a psychiatric social worker. Yeah. Simply some of them, the water from the shower, because the skin gets so soft, the water from the shower does hurt the skin. And sometimes not wanting to give trouble and say anything, they just refuse to go and have a bath. So in cases like that, you have a bucket for them so that they could throw the water on the skin, which is more gentle. So I would say in all this, I say we need to understand some things that we may take and say they're being miserable, or they don't want to comb their hair, or they're unhygienic and that kind of thing. Sometimes it's a simple thing that causing them to be like that, and not because they themselves want to be like that. So these are some simple things that we could look at when we interacting with children who are Down syndrome, who have special needs, and especially elderly and elderly care. So let me continue. I saw this festival, and I'm always intrigued when I see the spirituality of my African ancestors, how they practice. I love seeing it. I was not brought up in it per se, but I had an aunt who was Orisha. I didn't understand she was Orisha at the time. And I had another aunt who was spiritual Baptist. I didn't understand there was a difference, but I knew when I went to my aunt who church that is the spiritual Baptist, I found it to be kind of boring because it was just singing and. But when I went to the one who was Orisha, listen, I used to love it, the dancing and the African, the Celtic power and all that. That was so exciting to me, but I didn't fully understand what it was at the time. So when director draw this to my attention, I say, yes, we must play it and give thanks and give respect to our ancestors, their gods, and how they worship. I think I saw them around the savannah on, let me see when it was, Saturday. And it's either on the savannah or Queen's Hall, one of the two. And we were watching it, and I was saying that has to be some type of spiritual gathering or something. If I was walking, I was going to come out and go and ask them because all of them in white, it looks so beautiful. So that was just a little piece there to entice you. So find out more about it. When I play any stuff, it's for you to move from here and move on and get more information. Don't just depend on what I put up, right? I saw this, and just a minute. There's some good news with Jerome Richard, during the Dream Richards. Just take a look. He's been doing it and doing it well in athletics, and he is also a recipient of the elite sports program that the PNM had put in place for elite for elite athletes to get money that will help them with the training, with food, and doctor bill and all that. So he has been receiving that, and is well deserved because he has been working hard. He, along with other athletes in other elite athletes in this country. So watch out what you're reading here. Winning again.
Shame on our media houses here in Trinidad and Tobago. This year is a big accomplishment for Jerome Richards and for Trinidad and Tobago. Imagine Jerome Richards defeated one of the world's fastest athletes in track and field, Noah Lyles. And you're telling me I'm not seeing this plastering all over on our social media news outlets, news pages. You see, here in Trinidad, we are not a patriotic country. We don't show our athletes respect. We don't give them their flowers. Yo, imagine one of my Facebook friends had a tag TTT in a post and ask him how come they post nothing about this. And it's only an hour after then TTT made a post. Jerome Richards runs 32.14 to win 300 meters. You see why I have respect for Jamaica and the US when it comes to sports. They don't play and they don't take their athletes for granted. This year should be a proud moment for Trinidad and Tobago. You all should take a break from the politics, the post about the politics and the crime, and let me share something positive now. Gosh, boy, this brother been consistent and been putting in the hard work, been grinding. I know what it is I respect about him. He always put in God first, whether he win or he lost. Bro, you keep pressing and you keep up the good work. Respect, my brother.
I want to assure the gentleman who made that TikTok, I think it was, that he on Bounce Up channel or Bounce Up Central. And we talk the Ting Unfiltered. We always promote our athletes. We always promote anybody that does anything that elevates Trinidad and Tobago in any way, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's the arts, no matter what it is. We have been doing that consistently. So we have done it again today. And thank you, sir, for making that video. Because when we heard about it, we were looking for footage of it. And because it was done through one of those international news stations, we could not just have taken it from there. So thank you for making this so that we're able to show it to Trinidad and Tobago. And we do appreciate all Bounce Up Central and we talk the thing, all our athletes, Jerome Richards, the Dream, always appreciated and loved. So let me continue. I saw this video and I'm playing it for a reason because I want to talk about it. It's a special interest video. And I want to take a couple of minutes after you listen to it to have a discussion, a brief discussion, because it's important. Because when I first saw it, first thing came to me was discrimination. That is even before really listening the whole thing and then until the person gets into it. And then I realized what was happening. So just listen to this, bear with me. And I'll have a short discussion on it, nothing too long, but it's important.
I've just been through probably the most degrading thing that I've ever experienced, being Rastafari. Today I went to my local health center. I went to do my medical because this is a procedure in getting the food badge to make sure that you are healthy and, fit to prepare food. So as I said, I went to renew. This is my third time. The past 2 times that I've been there, I had no problem. It was easy, smooth sailings. The first 2 times I went there, I had 2 female doctors. It asked the relevant questions relating to the form to make sure that I am well, if I've ever had TB, if I've ever been hospitalized, and those sort of stuff. And all the answers to all of those questions are no, because I'm healthy. I've never been admitted to the hospital. In question, the doctor today was a man, so he would have asked the same question. And on the form for the food badge, you have to check the physical as well. Your nails, and there's a section for your hair. You all can see my hair is covered. for religious purposes. First 2 times that I went and I spoke to the lady doctors, asked me if the head covering is for religious purposes, and I would have told them yes, it is. And they said, okay, that's no problem, because in order to prepare food for people, your head has to be covered anyway. Explaining my covering, my hair, this is covered twice. So under this, there's a second covering. This is the second one. The second one is holding my hair. So this one is just draped. My hair is wrapped underneath this. The man, the male doctor, he asked me to remove my head covering. I told him I cannot do that because it is for religious purposes. He had a nurse inside with him, a female nurse. He asked if she could check my hair. I said, no, you cannot remove my head coverings because this is spiritual. This is for religious purposes. No one is supposed to touch my hair. So I remained adamant about the fact that he cannot remove it. This man forced this young nurse, she's probably about my age, a black girl, he forced her to lift my hair, my head covering, to check my hair, because in his words, he wanted to make sure that I am not diseased. I don't know if I look diseased. And I was trying to explain to him that I've never had to do this before. Firstly, let me just give props to this girl because she didn't even really take it off. Because she could realize that that's not okay. I saw that she could realize that that's not okay. What she did is she lifted the first one, and she untied the second one. She never took down my hair or anything, so I appreciate her for that. And what I want to know is, if I were a Muslim, would I have had to go through that same thing? Been through a lot being Rastafari, living out here in society, because, the world doesn't really understand who we are. But that was really degrading. You don't do that. This is not the first time doing this whole procedure. As you all know, I've had my business for a while now. So that whole thing, to me is just unnecessary and very degrading. This is just a bit of insight to what it is being me, what it is being Rastafari, a Rasta woman. There's a lot of flaws in the system. There's a lot of disregard and disrespect in the system. And I think that usually gets swept under the carpet. I take this as part of my story to make me a stronger person. Every day I experience something that pushes me closer to my faith, and I'm always grateful for those experiences.
Right, well, everybody know that I'm Rasta, and I empathize with Marasta Sistrin when she spoke about, putting it in my words, discrimination against some people of who are Rastafarians, whether Bobo, Ethiopian Orthodox, 12 tribe, whatever. There's always conversations, especially people from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, anywhere there, about a Rasta here and what it could have inside it, and all kind of insulting jokes were made and all that. So I fully understand and know that there is, for some people, discrimination when it comes to Rasta. I know that because I have been victim of that a couple of times. So I agree with her there, and it is humiliating and it is degrading, and you do feel, if you were to take it on in that particular way, it could really bring tears to your eyes because of the discrimination you face. So I want to rest that there, but I want to say this now. I have been a government cook in the hospitals and the youth camps since 2000, since 1997. And as a government cook, and only cooks in the system, we have had to go for our medical. And when you go for your medical, sometimes it may depend on who is the doctor or based on whatever history that you have, because usually if you're working in one place for a long while, you build up a rapport with the clinic and the doctors and they and that, so they have that, so they know if you have any illnesses, diseases, sickness, that kind of thing. One of the things they really do check, they check your fingernails. That is to make sure it's cropped properly, you don't have fungi in your fingernails. They check your skin, you know, to see if you have any buttons, any rash, and things like that. They check in your throat to see any scripto, this and whatever, your nose and your eyes and all that, right? When it comes to your hair, because a large percentage of the cooks within the service are not Rastafarians, their hair are opened so that a doctor could see for themselves what is happening there. When it comes to Rastafarians, or if it's a Muslim or a Hindu, you have on the sari thing coming here and all that. When it comes to food and handling of food, there is no distinguishing that this one is a Muslim, this is a Rastafari, this is a Bubu, this, that. If the doctor wants to see your hair, because there's something called disease and unhealthy hair, you know, it is not an embarrassment or insult to somebody, but again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Disease or unhealthy hair is characterized by significant deviation from normal growth, texture, or scalp health. Often appears as excessive shedding, breaking, thinning, or structural damage like extreme fragility, right? Common types include generic hair loss, and it goes on to say a lot of things. So imagine that you have itchy scalp with plenty flakes, and you're cooking not in a government space, but privately at home, and then you're bringing it on the road to sell. You may have your head covered at that time because you're selling in the public, but when you're preparing it at home or wherever space you prepare, you may have your hair uncovered because it's you at home, whatever it is. And imagine you have itchy scalp and flaky scalp and you're scratching and things falling. People will not know. Or you have thinning hair, that the hair falling out in the food when you're cooking up. These things happen. So I don't think this sister should have taken it as any kind of insult, even though she should have gone several times and not have to a doctor or a medical professional ask her to see her hair. That does not mean to say that they don't do that. So to simply put it as though it was a discrimination, well, I wasn't there, but I'm talking about going to get a food badge. The other issues that may have happened, that is not what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about the food badge itself. All could have happened. She could have been taken to a room where she and a nurse, and the nurse would have been able to, in a female nurse, if she's comfortable, to see. She could have been asked to she herself remove it to see what he is. It's not to thing it up and embarrass you. I just saying sometimes we need to understand certain procedures. Because if you're going in the airport and in immigration and they tell you to remove your head wrap or whatever the case may be, and they don't want to do it, it have ramifications with that. It's not because they want to discriminate against you, it may be because of security situation. It may be before somebody had their head covered and inside their hair had drugs in it or whatever. I'm just saying. So it may be a particular reason why they're asking to do that. So I want to tell the sister again, I am happy that she'd had experiences before where she got her food back. She didn't have to go through that, but I also want to tell her that I don't know the full circumstances, but when it comes to health, cooking food, and doing medicals, all those things are to be done. If some doctors don't do it, okay. If some do it, okay. But the point is, at the end of the day, you're cooking food and they need to make sure that you're healthy from here straight down to your foot, right? Again, because we cooked in the hospitals, it is always open for everybody to see, in the sense that people see what you're doing. Your head is always covered, appropriate clothing, white pinafore, white uniform, everything is always covered. But when you're cooking at home, people don't know. Yes, they do come to your home probably and check whatever, but when they go, you could probably get up in your nightie, you brush your teeth, nothing, and start to prepare. How people will know that? And suppose you have thinning hair, falling hair, here with dandruff and all that. These things happen. So I do not think that, I think this sister, is my opinion, may have taken the disease here to mean something like lice or something like that. I don't think it was that extreme, because if it's lice, you're going to see it coming out and walking. I think it had to do with the other things when they speak about disease here. That, but I'm sorry that she had that experience. However, it is a medical to cook food. I'll tell you a quick thing also with cooking food, because industrial cooking we do. The Sorry about that, just a break. Long time I haven't had a disruption with the live. So as I was saying, I'll give you a quick example. So when we cook in industrial cooking, in hospitals, certain youth camps and that, we use industrial brazen pans, steam pots and all that, not normal pots. And you have to have like a shovel, right? So it's a lot of heat, and you're always sweating profusely. So what we do, we have a big rag stick at the side of our pinafore. And sometimes because of the heat and it can't move, you ask another cook or whatever to sap your own. So you move away from the brazen pan, wherever you're doing, or the steam pot, and they wipe it on, because they don't want the sweat to fall into the food. You have things like that happening, and these are serious things. You might feel a sneeze coming on, you move away quick from the pot, wherever, and you hold you put your nose between your elbow there, but away from the pot, and you sneeze. If you're at home, nobody is seeing you. You mightn't do all them kind of things. So what they try to do is lessen the impact of bacteria that could, from preparation to the time it's serving, and every little way they could try to eliminate that they do that. And in our country, when I was doing my research, I was going to do my thesis on the health act, the food act and stuff. So I had a lot of research to do. And they said that because we have a tendency to overcook our foods in Trinidad and the Caribbean, we like the meat falling off the bone, and we don't like we vegetable crunchy. We just say what happened. Then we rotting teeth, or we like to cook down, we think all that. That helps a lot. That is why I always advise people, best time to go and have lunch somewhere is 11, 12, 1. Later than that, you could have a lot of bacteria being built up. Not because the people nasty, but that is just how bacteria, there's something always there that could have some bacteria, something in it, and what the warmness keep multiplying it and all that. So with food, my sister, is a different thing. And it's not because you didn't experience that before. Now that you experience somebody, they want to see you here. It means to say that they're discriminating against you, right? But I hope that that you understand. And again, sorry for your experience. So let me continue. So our Prime Minister would have dragged Trinidad and Tobago into a whole scenario with her support for the American administration and that whole situation with Venezuela, where it is said that there's a US base in Tobago. We see there's a radar up there, and we would have heard Trinidad and Tobago being mentioned in a lot of international news when the US were blowing up boats and stuff, saying it's narco trafficking, and this Prime Minister let us believe also is narco trafficking and that kind of thing was happening. And then now, after the removal of President Maduro, former President Maduro, there has been no conversation again about narco trafficking. Everything has come to a halt. So with all that, well, I say I expected to see we getting some kind of favor granted or something. I just saying so. I don't know. If you're all up in it, It had to be for something, but apparently Trinidad and Tobago ain't get nothing. We continue to lose on the UNC. When UNC win, Trinidad and Tobago loses. So listen to this, because oil is moving out of Venezuela again, but it ain't passing here, going to other roads. So listen to this.
Trinidad has been left out as Venezuelan oil now flows through the Caribbean. Washington and Caracas have quietly rejoined the Caribbean energy map, and Trinidad and Tobago is not on it. Venezuelan crude is now moving openly through St. Lucia, Curacao, and the Bahamas, using those islands as storage and transit hubs for global markets. Long dormant oil terminals are back in play, and the Caribbean is once again a strategic energy corridor. This follows the capture of Nicolas Maduro and the rapid rollout of US supervised export framework. Approved trading firms are clearing Venezuela's oil inventories and routing cargoes through selected Caribbean terminals under tight oversight. Trinidad and Tobago stands outside this arrangement. Now, despite our infrastructure, proximity, and historic role in regional energy, Caracas has drawn a hard political line after Port of Spain's quiet cooperation with the U.S. operations leading up to Maduro's capture. Energy agreements were suspended. Diplomatic trusts fractured. Washington reinforced decision routing crude through islands viewed as neutral at this moment, while seeing Trinidad as a sensitive front. Our aging oil infrastructure, focused mainly on gas and LNG, would also require major investment to support large-scale crude storage and transshipment. At home, the energy sector tells its own story. The Prime Minister and Energy Minister publicly attacked the Energy Chamber. Government boycotted the Energy Conference. Nutrien shut down Point Lisa's nitrogen operations, and BP consolidated upstream assets. Shell restructured with reduced LNG output. BHP exited following its merger, and EOG scaled back local operations, all while regional competitors quietly positioned themselves for new energy flows. The reality is uncomfortable but clear. Geopolitics has shifted, energy routes have shifted, and Trinidad is watching from the sidelines. Troubling times ahead.
Right? How we winning? Where the gas deal? Where dragon? Where the oil? Just asking. I'm seeing here that the families of persons who would have been killed in Trump's military boat strike sues the US government. And it says here, civil rights attorney filed a federal lawsuit against the United States government on Tuesday, and this report is the 27th of January 2026. So again, civil rights attorneys filed a federal lawsuit against the United States government on Tuesday on behalf of the families of two men from a small fishing village in Trinidad who were killed in a US military airstrike on a small boat in the Caribbean seas on the 14th of October 2025. The lawsuit, shared in advance with The Guardian, says that Chad Joseph, 26, and Rishi Samaru, 41, both of Las Cuevas, Trinidad, were returning to Trinidad from Venezuela when they and four other people were killed in the strike. It was the fifth attack announced by the White House under Donald Trump's campaign against the small, go-fast boats the administration claims are connected to cartels and gangs. The suit was filed 4 days after the administration announced the 36th such boat strike on Friday. This one in the Eastern Pacific. The death toll of the boat strike stands around at least 117 people dead so far. The lawsuit said the strikes were illegal. These premeditated and intentional killings lack any plausible legal justification, the lawsuit said. Thus, they were simply murder, ordered at the highest levels of government and obeyed by military officers in the chain of command. Legal scholars have said that the strikes launched against civilians in boats far from the US are a violation of domestic and international law. The Trump administration maintains they are legal under a secret opinion written by the Justice Department that argues the U.S. is in armed conflict with the cartels and that the laws of war applies to the strike. The suit over the October attack was filed in federal district court in Massachusetts under admiralty law, which addresses maritime dispute and violation, and was brought by Lenore Burntley, Chad mother, and Salika Kora Singh, Samaru's sister. It cites the Alien Tort Act, which allows foreign nationals to sue in U.S. courts in certain cases and the Death on the High Seas Act. In a separate case in December, the families of a Colombian national, Alejandro Carranza Medina, who was killed in another one of the strikes, filed a human rights complaint with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, part of the Organizations of American States. But the case filed on Tuesday was the first federal lawsuit filed in connection with the attack. Families of the dead men are represented by attorneys from the ACLU, Seton Hall University, and the Center for Constitutional Rights. Jonathan Hafetz of Seton Hall Law School said the lawsuit was the first of its kind because the U.S. has never conducted this type of bombing campaign. This is uncharted waters. Never before in the country's history has the government asserted this type of power, he said in an interview. This is a clear example of unlawful killing by the United States. The U.S. is assuming the prerogative to kill victims in international waters. In a press release, Kora Singh is quoted as saying, if the U.S. government believed Rishi had done something wrong, it should have arrested, charged, and detained him, not murdered him. Little is known about the attack that killed Samaru and Joseph. That day, Trump posted a video of a small open vessel boat floating underwater but not moving, when it was suddenly engulfed in flames. He wrote on social media, under my standing authorities as Commander-in-Chief, this morning, the Secretary of War ordered a lethal kinetic strike on a vessel affiliated with a designated terrorist organization, DTO. Trump said 6 male narco terrorists aboard the vessels were killed in the strike, but did not explain which group authorities believed they were affiliated with, and did not mention whether authorities believed there were either drugs or guns aboard. So people, interesting times ahead. This is not like a long time. We have social media now, and people are making use of that. You see, they were able to get in contact with lawyers from Seton University who are not in Trinidad, but in America, and are willing to take up that matter. So let us see how that goes. Because remember, our Prime Minister agreed that kill them violently. And when the Colombian president had asked that if anybody's, I think of Colombians that wash up on these things, she called them carcasses. And she wasn't going to, I'm paraphrasing, she was not going to use me money to deal with that, right? So we'll see how that goes. I'm also seeing in Barbados that I think a snap election has been called by Mayor Motley. And it seems that she's having the challenges that the PNM always has with the UNC in this country, talking something about the election and boundaries commission or something. So, or something to that effect, like they're having issues with it. Only remember just recently what happened in St. Lucia when Yellow was the code, the whole crew went up to try to influence. That's my opinion, the St. Lucian election, general election, and the man who was challenging the incumbent government was a white man. Can't remember his name. He lost, and the incumbent retained about 14 out of the 17 seats or something like that. We saw down in St. Vincent the attack that was started by one minister, a junior minister in the Ministry of Housing. I just say he's an old drunk. I see that based on the video I saw. And you don't get drunk just like that if you're a seasoned drinker. That's an old drunk kind of look. yeah, he would have started a conversation about Dr. Ralph Gonsalves and he and his family have a house in Trinidad, all that, bypassing the fact that by marriage alone, Gonsalves is a national and his wife is a Trinidad and Tobago citizen and by extension natural. And not only that, the houses were put on the open market, meaning anybody could have bought, somebody from Castanagan, somebody from Germany, anybody could have bought these houses because they're still there. And a lot of apartments in Victoria Keys can't be sold yet because people ain't buying them, right? So anyway, they did all that and we saw the end of the result of that election. And it was Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, a strong powerhouse in CARICOM. He would have lost the elections. And now we're seeing there's something happening down in Barbados, and I hope the people in Barbados would consider what they have and make the right decision, because Mayor Motley is a powerhouse in the Caribbean and CARICOM, and we need strong women. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of weak women, but we need strong women. So let's listen to her for a minute.
My judgment that Mr. Thorne, recognizing how unprepared his party is and his candidates, and how he is not comfortable or confident with what he's doing, has tried to make allegations. He started last year, April or May, I can't remember the exact date. Nation carried the front page, and they carried my response to where he told him to put up or shut up. Because he first told us that the government, he believed the government was going to pad the list with migrant workers and with students. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So now he has changed his story from that to now talking about names that are not on the list, when the law provides under Section 18 and under other sections in the Act a mechanism by which to do it. You know what's so ironic about this? The same legislation of which he speaks was first passed by the Errol Barrow administration in 1971. And then the amendments to which I just referred were passed by the Erskine Sandiford administration in 1989. So that his own party is the architect of the rules that he complains of today. Now this tells me that we have a person who is adamant on blaming the country for his own ineptitude and his own incompetence as leader of a political party in the conduct of an election. Now why does this disturb me? We spend our time trying to protect the reputation of this nation. And we go to great ends to protect the reputation of Barbados and Barbadians. And I am not going to, under any circumstances, agree that it should be sullied. And therefore this morning I took a decision. I spoke to the Secretary General of CARICOM and I spoke to the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, and I will do what Barbados has never had to do before, because both political parties exercised a level of sober maturity in the conduct of elections prior to this moment. But I am not going to allow anybody to put this country's reputation at risk. And I've therefore asked both of them, and they know it is a late request. I've now signed the letters to them. I've copied the letters to the President, His Excellency, Most Honorable Lieutenant Colonel Bostic. I've copied it to the Chairman of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission so that he may share with all members. And may I remind you, Mr. Thorne has 2 members on the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And I found it unusual that one of them would choose to speak outside of the remit of the chair, because in the past it was always the chair who spoke on behalf of the commission. When Mr. Philip Sirot, later Sir Philip Sirot, was chair of the commission, he spoke. Go back and check your records. When Mr. John Haynes from St. John was chair, he spoke, and not other members of the commission. And when now the current Chief Justice was chair before, he spoke. I find it curious that these persons are now speaking as if there is not a single commission required to be able to operate. I'm not going to even go in about the delays taken by Mr. Thorne in the reappointment of that commission, because that's a story for another day and another time. But the letter has been copied, therefore, to the President, to the Chair of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission, to Mr. Thorne himself, because we do nothing in private. We do everything in public. And of course to the Cabinet Secretary, who has responsibility in the central government, to the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. I want to repeat myself. The Prime Minister, the party which I lead, the Democratic Labour Party, or Mr. Thorne, have no direct role in the conduct of elections other than as candidates and as parties. The conduct of the election is in the hands of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which is established by the Constitution of this nation and which is represented by 3 members of the Barbados Labour Party and 2 members of the Leader of the Opposition. I go further. If there is any doubt and any suspicion being cast, it is important, therefore, for us to invite independent electoral observers such that you don't have to listen to me. Correct. You don't have to listen to any of us. Let the independent observers cast a judgment on the conduct of elections in this country. It is an unfortunate moment, but it is a necessary moment to protect the integrity and good name of this country. We have said to Mr. Thorne from almost a year ago, if you have evidence of padding, if you have evidence of fraud, if you have evidence of anything untoward, put it up. If not, shut up and stop spoiling Barbados' name. The fact that you don't want to work hard to be able to win an election is your problem, but must not be drawn and made to sully this country's name. And I feel strongly about it, and that is why I've taken the extraordinary decision to invite these persons here to help us in the independent observation of the conduct of these elections. I hope now we can get on to the issues that affect the people of Barbados from top to bottom. I've said over and over, this government is not perfect, but this government is a good government, and this government has a good record, and this government has made an appreciable difference to the lives of people. And I'm not going to tolerate in any way the nonsense and the kind of remarks that I saw Dr. Eswick make on the platform the other night. This is uncalled for, and this is the worst possible example we can set for our people. And to refer to members of the Labour Party or to women in the city or any of us as whores and prostitutes and pimps and all of that, and it was repeated by others on the platform. Now I say to you that Mr. Thorne has to decide whether this is the tone that he wants for his campaign. And if that is it, well, that is a matter for him. And the people will judge on the 11th of February. But for this moment, my duty as Prime Minister is to protect the reputation of this nation, and hence the request for the independent electoral observers. My duty as leader of the Barbados Labour Party is to be able to go to the country and show you our red record, A to Z. And I invite you to come to Oystins tonight to hear more of it. And my duty is to make sure that I have a team of candidates that is a team for the times, because we live in a changing world where every day and every week, you know in the media what things that you don't expect to confront are now confronting us in ways that really can be destabilizing to our nation. This is a critical moment in our nation's history, and I trust and pray that the people of Barbados will recognize that the right which they're being given to vote is not something to be trifled with. This is a critical right that has been fought for, and I expect, therefore, that over the course of the next 2 weeks, we will work hard, engage with you, and give you a reason to have confidence in my party and to allow us permission to continue, as is the case when we call an election. It is your voice that will determine the future of this nation in this turbulent and changing world. Thank you.
All right. Apologies for what happened there just now. I needed to play the whole of Mia Motley because people in this country, when Dr. Rowley was the Prime Minister, used to say, "Oh, I wish he was our Prime Minister." And she's okay, so I know that we love our Mia Motley. I never used to say she better than he or he better than she, right? But all understand the point. And I want to tell the Honorable Prime Minister of Barbados, she better check to see if the opposition ain't linked with the UNC, because they're sounding very UNC-ish. I'm just saying. So that is some things happening out there in Barbados, and I thought it was important I play the whole thing to give you justice, right? To give the peace some justice. So we know the thing now is zone of special operation. And I heard somebody say something very quaint. Where's the zone of special opportunity? We hear an operation, special operation, but where's the one of special opportunity? Because everything that was an opportunity for the same African youth and young person that could have helped them to stay away from crime, this UNC stop everything. CCC, YTEP, MyLat, MyPath, all the change in Ministry of Youth Development National Services back to Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, all the SHADE program, the YAP program, everything that could have helped, CPEP, URP, reforestation, contract workers go on, everything that could help a society to grow. Because that is what the also in Jamaica is, it have a social aspect also. It's not just about the police and the army going and lock down the place and all that. You have to also back that with social programs so that you have all the NGOs who involved in whatever work, whether it's in reading and writing, whether it is to help them fill out forms, whether it is to encourage them to apply here for work or to bring social services to them, whatever it is. That's how it's supposed to work. But we haven't heard in the bill what they're talking about in the Senate. I think in the Senate all now, not you in the House of Representatives. We need nothing on our social part, right? We need nothing about that part. All we hear is about police and army. So I think it's still being debated in the Senate because the government apparently is confident they will get all they need is 4 independent senators to vote with them, because the opposition senators and the opposition would have voted against it. Not against having something to help with crime, but against the present bill in the form that it is in. There's a lot of things that are missing. And to give a prime minister all that authority is a very dangerous thing. It's not, cannot saying go always be the prime minister, so it will be any prime minister, but especially under her, to give her that kind of power based on what we see her with America when she say kill them violently and knock it, cock it, rock back on it and all them kind of thing. That to decide which community will be a zone of special operation, leaving it to her. We know what is going to happen. We saw 2011 with the state of emergency that was not called the right way and all that. We saw it was in the African youth and East-West corridor. They just arrest them with no charge and carry them down. And you hear people quarreling. Ian Allen says something ain't right, and eventually those fellas come back out and get Baze Pandey and other lawyers to help them, God rest his soul, to fight the case against the state for illegally holding them and all that. So we understand when they talk about zones of special operation, it has nothing to do with opportunity. It's all about abusive, high-handed, dictatorial way to keep PNM, quote unquote, constituency under control and its people under control and more pressure. That is my opinion. So I saw there was a protest outside the parliament today with, I saw Marsha Walker, I saw Victor Roberts and others saying no to Sozo. So people are speaking out. So I'm seeing here, this is written by Vivian Bowen, Monday the 26th of January 2026. Social intervention programs must be treated as a top priority for ZOSO to be effective. Anything else cannot be called SOZO. It might be a police strategy, but it is not ZOSO. That is according to Dennis Brooks, Senior Superintendent of Police of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF. Brooks made a comment during a telephone interview with the Express on Thursday. He outlined the 3 phases of the initiative and explained that the clear phase was the first, followed by the whole phase and then the build phase. According to him, the clear phase began when security forces entered the community and removed violent criminal elements. The whole period sustained these measures for a period of time, and the build phase followed by allowing state agencies and non-governmental organizations, NGOs, to enter the communities to carry out people-centered development. Following the imminent expiration of the nationwide state of emergency on January 31st, the Trinidad and Tobago government has proposed the introduction of the law reform Zone of Special Operation, Special Security and Community Development Measures Bill 2026 under the ZOSO's framework. Police are authorized to kick down specific communities. Under the ZOSO framework, police are authorized to lock down specific communities deemed crime hotspots or those facing increased criminal activity. The initiative was largely borrowed from the Jamaican model, carrying the same name, and was established in 2007. However, the legislation do so has not yet become law in Trinidad and Tobago and is expected to be voted on in the Senate on Tuesday. While the opposition PNM did not support the bill in the House of Representatives, the government will need 4 out of the 9 independent senators to vote in favor of the bill to become law. So far, the government has said that the bill will help the state curb crime, as authorities have information on the operation, funding, location, basis, identities, and affiliates of gangs that have been running riot across the country. I just want to stick up in here for a minute because a country is about something. If the authorities are saying they have the operation, they have the information on the operation, the funding, the location, the basis, the identities, affiliates of gangs that have been running right across the country. What happened during the SOE that we had? They did not have that information at that time because under that SOE, they could have gone into those places, the communities, the locations, and all that, and do all that they want to now do with the so. I don't get it. Police work is information driven, and if they have the information, they already have the authority under the law to act on that information, get the information, get the person, whatever it is, take them to arrest them, whatever, and then take them to court and our cases. Yeah. So the police already have that authority. What more authority they want under so if they had that information and evidence, not evidence, but they have where the funding coming from, location, the base, the identities, and all that. Why they haven't done anything with that? So I'm asking, is it that they recently got the information because we had a SOE? So they never had that information before. I just asked him. So let me continue. Attorney General John Jeremy, who piloted a bill in Parliament on Tuesday, said criminal ecosystems were embedded and operating within specific geographic areas through TNT. He added that police have identified higher concentration of serious crime activities clustered within particular corridors and communities. On the opposition side, concerns were raised about the potential stigmatization and racial discrimination of certain districts as reasons why the bill should not be supported, challenging the notion that the state had incriminating evidence against gangs in Trinidad and Tobago. The opposition pointed out that the measures was unconstitutional and did not follow the rule. While the initial phase aims to root out criminal elements and disrupt gangs, Brooks, that is the police from Jamaica, warned that it inevitably creates a vacuum effect if not managed efficiently. He said maintaining a joint police and defense force present is essential to prevent new gangs from forming or for turf wars to break out when old gang leaders are released. So you need, for instance, ZOSO checkpoints at various points of the zone that have to be manned. Those are manned largely by the military, and the police have a role that they play. So you might have one police by 3 military JDF, that is Jamaican Defense Force members, or no variation of that, depending on the space, Brooks explained. Adding, then you have the build phase, and the build phase is critical. He recalled that when authorities entered declared communities alongside state agencies, it was discovered that many people living in crime-ridden areas did not have any form of identification and were therefore unable to obtain passports, birth certificates, and national identification cards because of ZOSOs. He said that the build phase allowed residents in the zones to realize that ZOSOs was not solely about the presence of security forces in their neighborhood. And he went on, but what he is saying is basically what we're saying. There must be social programs with it, and we're not hearing anything about social programs, right? So I want to ask this question. Does any of the independent senators have a HR contract with Heritage? I just asked you. Because if an independent senator does have a HR contract with Heritage Petroleum Limited, that independent senator is supposed to recuse themselves from this taking part in this bill and conversation because there could be a bias. Let somebody else, let the president appoint a temporary independent senator. I'm just saying, if an independent senator does have an HR contract with Heritage Petroleum Limited, I think that's what they call, then that senator, if that senator has this HR contract, should recuse themselves from this process so as not to taint this process as having biases, right? I just asking a question. So listen to Rambers, one of my favorite peeps right now, who bring in the information for us, right? So he's speaking on so.
Whenever you see news stories like these, you may be tempted to think that these persons are 40 criminals. But you have to understand that in certain communities, they have experiences that you and I never had. Consider this news story. Policeman shot dead in Rich Plain, Diego Martin, 22nd of April 2022. For this story, I want to reintroduce you all to two people here. PC Clarence Gilks and Jelano Romney. Apparently, he was not a good person and they had to arrest him. During the arrest process, PC Gills got shot and he later died at the St. James Infirmary. His fellow colleagues that were there that day said that Jelano was the one who shot him. Jelano went on the run claiming his innocence. The then police commissioner came out and said that the criminals have started a war against the police service and they will leave no stone unturned to get the killer in custody. They then went up into Rich Plain, started kicking down doors, pushing down people to find this alleged killer. But then the truth started to come out, something the ground already knew beforehand. Investigations revealed that it was a police-issued M&P Smith & Wesson pistol that fired the fatal shot, making the officers allegedly culpable for the act. Several witnesses indicated that Romney complied and placed his hands in the air. Romney was facing Gilks almost directly. It was at this point 3 shots were heard and Gilks uttered, "You hit me," before collapsing to the ground. Romney ran off while one of the officers ran to Gilks' assistance. Imagine being taken out by one of your own. But listen to the charges. A police officer has been charged with the murder of PC Clarence Gilks and another charge with shooting at an unarmed man with intent to cause harm. It's a common theme here. You surrender, they still shoot you and kill you. And as for Jelano, he went on to be a state witness in that case, but don't worry, they eventually got him later on that year, so that state witness is dead. So when you see news stories like these, don't feel that these people are just for crime and they are anti the police. This happened just 4 years ago. They would remember. They would remember having their doors kicked in, whether they were or were not a criminal. This is not to say that he wasn't. He most likely was. But many officers used that incident as a reason to come up there and victimize a lot of persons who were not even a part of the criminal in the world. Who remembers this incident? We saw a gold Tida driving, and then we saw a group of police officers driving in the opposite direction, and then those group of officers stopped, came out, stopped the Tida. Now we don't know what they told the occupants, but judging by the fact that the occupants clearly put their hands out of the vehicle and up in the air, most likely it was "show me your hands" or something, "don't move," and the occupants again surrendered. Then we saw this individual exiting the vehicle with his hands up. Keep an eye on him, he will be important for later. And then something changed in the scenario. All we saw were the police opening fire on the vehicle, killing all the occupants. And remember that one guy who came out of the vehicle? Well, apparently he got shot as well, and according to social media, he was found inside the vehicle. That was an unconfirmed report based on social media reportings, but the rest of the story remains. 8 police officers detained in Morvan killing of 3. Once more, you see a current theme. The persons surrendered, had their hands up in the air, and were still murdered. Which brings us to the incident from a few days ago. We saw it on camera again. Persons, hand up in the air, "I surrender," and they were still murdered. Now, unfortunately, we live in a time when you can't raise any concerns, however valid they may be. So raising these concerns as a reason to postpone or hold back on this zone of special operations nonsense, you are seen as pro-crime for whatever reason in the minds of delusional persons. Those with sense understand the point. There are corrupt police officers amongst us who simply cannot give more authority without giving more oversight to rein in corrupt elements that you are giving that authority to. That is the long and short of the argument. The now Homeland Security Minister, who is somebody who was publicly opposed to body cams since he was a police officer on national TV, is saying bulletproof vests over body cams. And I am now telling you that both are important for different reasons. The bulletproof vests are to protect the police officers from corrupt elements in society, and the body cams are to protect citizens from corrupt elements within the police service. None of them should supersede the other. That should be standard equipment. bulletproof vest, body cam clipped onto the bulletproof vest. So I don't buy this argument that bulletproof vests are more important. So let's hold off on the body cams for now. Then hold off on giving the police service more authority for now as well, until you all can bring proper oversight in place. Especially when you have this kind of thinking within the head of the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago. So you can see where the mindset is. And you all aren't going to come into these communities and target just the criminals. If somebody lives in place A and place A is now deemed a zone of special operations, and that person leaves place A and goes to place B to hang out or to work, they still fall into that category of zone A, which means they still have limited freedom, even if they are not home, whether they are a criminal or not. So on top of society already having a deep distrust and mistrust for the police service, you are now going to give them more power to target certain communities without oversight. And that is wrong. And if you don't see that, you can lie down by it. I stand by my point. You see, many of these content creators who are of African descent and pro-zone of special operation, you may say to yourself, they don't understand the ramifications. Unfortunately, as the saying goes, you cannot get a man to understand something when his livelihood depends on him not understanding it.
We would have seen on social media, it's not we say so, whatever. We would have seen on social media something that disturbed us, and it may not have been the first time, but this is in recent time, and it disturbed us, and especially now, when this government is trying to pass a legislation, the special operation, the zone of special operation, that gives the police more power and gives the Prime Minister the authority to declare any community a hot spot and have the police and they lock it down and operate as a kind of mini state of emergency. So this incident would have come in within that whole space, and it has been merged with the ZOSO, and people are concerned. So I want to tell you all, it is graphic. If you have the little ones around, let them come out of the room, whatever, and that, but it is a little graphic, right? And just take a look.
Come on this side. Give me.
We cannot touch anything, Kale.
Don't touch anything. If you see bullets, boy, dog, boy. Hey, boy, dog, boy. All in his seat, boy, dog, boy. All blood on his steering wheel, boy, dog, boy.
Lights, nothing
Look,
there.
all got blood. Oh my god.
Blood where?
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god.
He lies, nothing, man. I go on.
Don't touch.
Telling me.
Don't get vexed at me. I just can't see, dog.
Watch
Please,
this.
But the bus up the dashboard, so the bullet are in.
Bullet. All my car there.
nobody front of any belongings in it.
We cannot touch anything, Kale. Good.
Lights, nothing there.
All got blood.
We have to thank Crime Watch and Mr. Ian Allen for that comprehensive look. Yes, Father. So as I say, Father, This is what the father of that young man who lost his life. We could only talk on what we see. What happened before, we don't know. Let us show that we see what we see. His name was Joshua Samaru and his girlfriend, Kalia, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. They had a child together, and I understand she is a US citizen. I'm not sure about that, but listen to his father.
I am getting everything that I can to make sure these officers pay for what they did. Not for me alone, not for my son, not for my daughter-in-law, not for my children, but for everybody that went through this experience.
Samaru also questioned the actions of the officers involved, saying proper police procedure was not followed.
When you stop a person that is alleged in a crime, the first thing you do is yell at them and tell them, put their hands out the window. Secondly, you tell them, exit the vehicle. You don't start to fire like a mad person. These were not police officers. These were police officers in bandit form. They were all bandits dressed up like police, and they need to be dealt with by the commissioner.
He is calling on Police Commissioner Alistair Guevara to act swiftly against what he describes as rogue officers.
And Mr. Commissioner, I'm telling you, you better do something with your rogue officers. Otherwise, the public is going to come down on you and every rogue officer that is in this police force. The buck stops here. My son is the last.
That was the father of Joshua Samuel, and I want to send my condolences to his family coming from We Talk Ting Unfiltered and also from Bounce Up Central. We want, and all those who view us, I'm sure you all would agree with us to send your condolences to the family. There's nothing much we could say, you know, because who feels it knows it, but we could let them know that we're here, and we hope that they get the justice that they think that they should get, and that those who are culpable held to account, and that things like that never happen again in Trinidad and Tobago. So the father has said something about the commissioner of police to act swiftly. This is what the commissioner of police had to say. This is attributed to him, so I'm reading. This article is via Richard Sharon. It says, let's see how quick I can go through it. COP, that's the Commissioner of Police, rejects suspensions, orders counseling for officers who shot and killed an unarmed man and wounds his girlfriend. Police Commissioner Alistair Guevara has defended the decision not to suspend the officers involved in the fatal police shooting of 31-year-old Joshua Samaru, insisting instead that the officers will receive counseling as investigation continues. Samaru was killed by police in St. Augustine while his common law wife, Kia Seeley, 31, was critically injured and left paralyzed. CCTV footage of the incident, which has since gone viral, has sparked nationwide outrage and renewed debate over police use of deadly force. In a series of voice notes issued late Monday, Commissioner Guevara urged the public to withhold judgment, offering condolences to the families and confirming that the victim and witness support unit has been engaged. Guevara maintained that the shooting occurred during police routine operation and was not linked to the use of the state of emergency powers. He noted that while the circulating video runs just over 5 minutes, it captures only about 15 seconds of gunfire and does not reflect what police say was a broader sequence of events. Commissioner of Police rejects suspensions, ordering counseling for officers who shot and killed the unarmed man and wounds his girlfriend. So Mr. Joshua, Mr. Samaru, the Commissioner of Police has said that his officers are going to get counseling. And they should get counseling because I think the standard thing, I'm not a police officer. I just watch plenty of them police shows and when a police is involved in a shooting, I don't know if it's the same thing happening in Trinidad. They are relieved of the weapons, so ballistic could be done on it. They are sent to counseling and they are either suspended with pay until the end of the investigation or they are put on desk duties. I don't know if that's the same protocol that happens in Trinidad and Tobago. Listen to this gentleman here.
If not murder, then what? If not murder, then what? This story, the reason I stitched this video is because this man have been telling his story for years about attempted murder by the TTPS. This story yesterday, I watched on Ian Allen, where this car, this man put his hand outside his vehicle and police had to shoot up this car on camera. If it's not murder, then what? That reminds me of a story up Mova, I believe some years ago, where police stopped this vehicle, I think it was a gold Tida, make the driver come out of the car, tell him to go back in the car, and when he sat back down in the car, they riddled up the car.
Right? People are speaking and you can't stop them from speaking based on what they see, right? Listen to Rambos again on this.
Commissioner Alistair Guerrero advocates counseling instead of suspension for shooting officers. I don't know why you tagging me in this for, I feel like you always know what I'm going to say, but just want to hear me say it. You're tagging me in this for to upset me because that is all it's going to do. I just give persons a chance to prove themselves. And once you prove yourself to be incompetent, I just zone out on you. And right now, I'm zoned out on this police commissioner. Let's look at Bro's track record so far. First big thing he did was call an SOE. Now, everybody with sense know the government really called the SOE, but they couldn't admit that because they bad talked the PNM SOE. So he took the fall as, well, the police commissioner recommended it, and we went on his recommendation. So we could still blame you for that. Bro called an SOE. And now we are seeing what we all already knew. Crime really wasn't down. It was underreported. Crime is actually up, which was something everybody in Trinidad and Tobago already knew. So I'm glad that they finally came out and admitted, like, yeah, crime is really up. The SOE was a failure. So on that, Bro is a failure. He's the same one that also came out and said the following.
And what I'm pleased to announce is the first successful operation utilizing the newly installed radar system.
And at that time, everybody with any level of common sense was collectively on social media and around the world like,
you sure about that? You sure about that?
Because the lie he wanted us in Trinidad and Tobago to believe, and sadly many of you all did believe it, is that this radar in Tobago, a radar meant to detect flying objects in the sky, it's an air radar, was somehow able to see through the mountain of the Northern Range and detect a boat with no engines hiding in the Caribbean River. Even the manufacturer had to come out and say that's not possible. Vladimir Putin would love to get a radar like this. He would win every single war he ever waged anywhere in the world. So your track record so far, being caught lying about the SOE for the government, so you are the fall guy, being caught as a failure because the SOE has failed, and now you're coming to talk nonsense about no suspension but counseling. Man dead, The man dead, and his girlfriend or wife is paralyzed according to media reports in the hospital. And the officers who are responsible are still amongst us. They're still out there. They're still holding roadblocks with big gun by our faces while we have our families in our cars. He went on to say that the chase lasted 12 minutes and all we saw was the last 30 seconds of the footage. Well, release the rest because all we saw was the police murdering somebody. So if you saw differently, release the rest. You can't blame us for going based on what we saw, especially in a country where it seems like we are going through the era of lies. Everybody is lying to us. This has to be the longest feeling 9 months in the history of time telling. If somebody were to conceive a baby at the end of April, today, that child would have had 2 mortgages and a refinancing of Ireland finance loan. I'm telling you, the longest 9 months ever.
Listen to this incident that a visitor had recently. She said it was an encounter with the police. All these things are important, huh?
Hi guys, so I'm in Trinidad and Tobago, came in yesterday and I rented a car. So I had some errands running. So today, while I went to one bank up on High Street, the bank didn't have cash in it. So I had to go to another bank, which is on Lower High Street down by the wharf, which is Republic Bank. So I stopped the car, left my niece and my friend in the car, ran out to the fast service, and there was a police vehicle that passed us. Stopped lower down the street. I got into the car and I was driving off. Then they proceeded to tell me to pull aside, which I did. Then they said they wanted my license and insurance, so I gave it to them. And they proceeded to say that this was a no parking sign. Now, mind you, there was a vehicle, a big van in front, that I didn't see the no parking sign. So I didn't argue with them. So I gave them the information and stuff. So my niece got out the car and she was talking to them. And they came back now and they asked me for my passport. I was like, passport? I say, since when do I need a passport to drive in Trinidad? And I have my driver's license and the insurance registration, everything for the car because it's a rented car. So then she was like, when you came into, first it was a mail, and this is I want to put them up. The police, municipal police on Penitent Street in San Fernando is harassing visitors. So all those visitors that coming in to Trinidad for Carnival and having a rental, please make sure and have your passport information on your phone. So then she decided to ask me for the rental agreement for the rental. So I was like, I don't have any rental agreement. I got the car in the airport and that's it. So she was telling me, well, I need one. I don't need. This is not my first time coming to Trinidad, right? So I told her, I said, I've traveled to many countries before Trinidad and Tobago, and I do not need to have my passport on me. I rented, I went Canada last 2 weeks. I didn't need my passport. And I rent with Hertz. This is something I'm accustomed doing when I go away. So she proceeded to say, well, the mail officer said, well, you will have to follow us to the station because I don't have proper documents to drive. I was like, really? I said, anyhow, I can call my nephew, whatever. So I said, I have a copy of my passport on my phone. Then she proceeded to ask me when I came into the country. I said, yesterday. So she said if I have any evidence. So then I showed her my passport on my phone, and then I showed her my ticket that I came into the country yesterday. And then she was like, well, okay, go ahead. But they wanted to give me a ticket. So visitors, again, be aware. I'm thinking that you should copy your passport, have it on you on your phone so you can show them if you're being stopped. Because what I realize is that they are targeting us. Us meaning, you know what I mean, read between the lines. Because it was the opposite, denomination. So just be careful. Visitors, again, who come into Trinidad and renting a vehicle, make sure and just have your passport photo in your phone just in case, because they just want to give you tickets. I know the laws didn't even change. These people doing things illegally. My car, I gave him the insurance. It had the sticker. Everything on the car is good. It's a rental, so they couldn't give me a ticket. All right. So again, be aware. I'm in Trinidad. I know you guys might be coming for Carnival and stuff. Just be careful and get in a parking lot. Don't park up illegal because they're looking for anything to give you a ticket. All right, so God was with me today as a praying soul, but I'm just saying, the big lady who was with them, again, this is San Fernando area, and then I called the guy who rent me, and he was like, tell those police stop be harassing you, So again, they want to give you a ticket, make sure and have a copy. All right, peace out, enjoy your carnival, and be safe.
Okay. She has identified what she hasn't said as people of police officers of Indian descent. Listen to this. You see, all this ties into one, and listen to this.
The only reason Senator Obika is here today is because he has black skin.
I am a member of the National Security Council. I am of East Indian descent, and I am very proud of it. And I make no apologies.
The leader of government business in this Senate left us on the hand side that he's a proud Indian. In this bill, the question of race has been introduced in this debate. Uncontested by anyone on the side.
Mr. President,
I can say I'm a proud.
Mr. President,
it's because he has black skin.
I am of East Indian descent, and I am very proud of it.
Right? So you're in the parliament with this bill, this zone of this zone, zone of operations special. These ZOSOs, well, the man has identified as a proud Indian. What was the need to say that? You hear the woman say that it was, she said of her other ilk, you know what I mean? I interpreted to mean it was Indian police. We see when they speak about hotspots and crime, is always the east-west corridor, which is largely populated by people of African descent, who they think all one says African, it means that is a PNM. So I saw this report in the Daily Express, January 19, 2026. Where is the most dangerous place in Trinidad and Tobago? In 2025, central Trinidad between Caroni and Couva was the most murderous part of Trinidad and Tobago. In 2024, Port of Spain recorded the most killings, making it the deadliest location based on available TNT police service data. While homicide figures for 2023, 24, and 25 are added together, central Trinidad also stood out as the most violent region nationally. The data was provided by the Sunday Express by the TTPS on Friday. With 73 murders last year, the Central Police Division recorded around 20% of the murders out of the 369 killings across all 10 police divisions. Some communities in that division include Shogunas, Enterprise, Caroni, Conupia, Chinchin Road, Kelly Village, Las Lomas, Brasso, Freeport, Grand Couva, Londonville, and Couva. Last year, the country recorded the lowest murder toll, which has been largely credited to the state of emergency measures. The SOE is due to expire at the end of this month and may be replaced by zones of special operation. Though the proposed law reforms zones of special operation through the proposed law reform zones of special operation bill 2026. Under the SOZO framework, government will be empowered to declare high crime spots, specialized zones, allowing intensified security operation by the police and defense force. The approach also focuses on community-based intervention, mirroring Jamaica's model of targeted crime hotspots. We haven't heard anything about the community-based intervention. All we have heard about is the police and the military action part of it, right? They said in comparative terms, in 2025, murder rate was also lower than in 2020, when 396 homicides reported, a reduction largely linked to COVID-19 lockdown and movement restriction at its time. Under the current SOE, police are empowered to issue preventative detention orders to suspect deemed priority offenders or alleged gang leaders and gang members. And remember, I read where they said they have the information, the location, the financing, and this and that, and the gangs and all that. They have that, right? So there's a SOE now. Why hasn't anything been done to treat with it? You all want to lock down certain communities, right? Other division after central Trinidad communities between Tagriga, Ruka, Maloney, Laukita, Malabar, Pinto Road, and Rima and Kamuto in the northern police division were the second bloodiest last year with 52 murders. The southern district, which stretched from Marlborough to Muruga, was the third highest with 50%. The Southern Division encompasses communities such as Barraco, Gasparilla, Marabella, Monrepo, Moruga, Princestown, San Fernando, Davis, St. Madeleine, Claxton Bay, and Tableland. In 2024, Trinidad and Tobago experienced its highest ever homicide numbers, recording 625 murders. That year, Port of Spain and communities of East Port of Spain, Belmont, Beetham Gardens, Sealot, Laventil, Woodbrook, including Arpita Avenue, were the deadliest with 102 killings. The second highest was Central, 88, and the Southern Division next as 80 homicides. When combined across 2023, 24, and 25, the Central Police Division again recorded the most murders, 253, while the Northern Division recorded 201. Both Port of Spain and Southern Trinidad recorded 119 murders each. Additional figures obtained from the TTPS Corporate Communication Unit on Friday, covering the state of emergency declared by the UNC administration on July the 18th, reflected statistics up to January the 15th. The data confirmed that Central Trinidad communities not only recorded the highest number of murders, 33 during the period, but also led in shootings and wounding reports, as well as sexual offenses such as rape, incest, reported to the police. During the SOE period, the Northern Eastern Police Division, which serves communities in Mova, Blantyshires, Barataria, Santa Cruz, San Juan, recorded 26 murders. That number of homicide was the second highest during the period in question. The Northern Police Division, Tagarigo, Tarima, Takamoto, recorded 25 murders, making it the third highest according to the data. Adding up the numbers of murders between 2023, 25, Tobago with 50 have been the least murderers. In Trinidad, the southwestern peninsula, with communities such as Siparia, Point Fortin, Cedros, David, Erin, Faizabad, Labre, Oropouche, and Pinal have recorded the lowest figures with 106 killings. Communities in the Eastern Division such as Beach, Manzanilla, Matlat, Matura, Niaro, Rio Claro, Sandy Grande, Toca, and Valencia recorded the third lowest figures over the 3 years, followed by the Western Peninsula communities such as Caranage, Digamata, and Marval, the data showed. My point is, God forbid that they get this thing passed by the senators and them, independent senators. I hope they look into Shoguana's Enterprise, Caroni, Conopia, Chinchin Road, Kelly Village, Las Lomas, Brasso, Freeport, Grand Couva, Londonville, and Couva, which is populated by a high percentage of people of Indian descent. They have the highest murder rate. That is what it is saying here. Not me saying it. Where is the most dangerous place in Trinidad and Tobago? But every time they talk, it's just Beetham, Laventil, Sealot, Mova, the East-West corridor. They don't ever talk and let you know, but the statistics are here. Let they go and deal with that. This is a media release, January 27, 2026. Obtaining Fed tickets by false pretenses lands woman in court. A Charlieville woman was granted bail in the sum of $10,000 when she appeared before a master of the High Court yesterday, charged with 2 counts of obtaining goods by false pretense. Sati Samaru was charged with obtaining goods valued at TT 34,500 by false pretense and obtaining goods valued at TT 11,000 by false pretense when she appeared before Master Delicia Bettelme in the San Fernando High Court on Monday, the 26th January 2026. She was granted bail and the matter postponed for June 24, 2026 for a status hearing. The operation manager at the San Fernando company reported to police in July 2025 that during the period January 23, 2025 to January 24, 2025, a woman purchased 2 packages valued at $34,500 and 15 party tickets valued at $11,000 for a carnival event. Payments was allegedly effected by 2 checks, which were accepted as good and valid, and the packages and tickets handed over to the woman. The checks were deposited within the company's bank account, and both were returned dishonored with the notation account closed since 2021. Several attempts by the company to have the woman honor the payments proved futile, and a report was subsequently made to the police. Following investigation, an exercise was conducted on January 22, 2026, coordinated by Senior Superintendent Jackman, Woman Superintendent or W Superintendent Theodore Posad, and ASP Thomas, and supervised by Inspector Bechu and Sergeant Acting Ramdial, along with officers of the Fraud Office in San Fernando. During the exercise, police officers proceeded to Colahal Road, Charleville, where a search warrant was executed at the home of the female suspect. The woman was arrested and subsequently charged with the offenses by PC Mitchell. The fraud squad is reminding business owners and vendors to verify the authenticity of checks with their bankers before parting with their goods or consider switching to electronic form of payment if the person writing the check is not known to you or not regular customer. Corporate Communication Unit, January 27, 2026. No, she didn't. Sati Samaru didn't kill anybody, but she committed fraud and was charged with fraud, which is a crime. She's not from Laventer, she's not from Beetham, she's not from the East West Corridor, she's from Charleville. So that's when I say crime is not an African thing or an Indian thing or Chinese thing, it is a human thing. But they like to put it as if crime is an African thing when it has some Indian people committing crime. And as I read the report just now, the most murderous part of Trinidad is done across the Caroni Bridge, and they name the areas. So let me continue. So after reading all that, let me just read a little good news now, Jesus. We need some time to just get some good news. I don't know why this is happening, but you know how technology goes, right? So this here is a young man who would have done something very heroic, and it was on Ian Allen's page. I get it from there, this gentleman here. It says, a split seconds of courage. God bless you, Mr. Timothy Thomas. So that is the gentleman standing there. On Sunday evening, January 25th, 2026, around 5 p.m., what began as an ordinary drive towards Scarborough for me turned into a moment of witnessing a life-saving heroic act again. As I was heading along John Deere Road, I noticed a woman walking on the roadways, visibly shaking and crying uncontrollably. I stopped to ask what had happened, but she was too distressed to speak. Sensing something was terribly wrong, I pulled over to take a closer look. And that's when the gravity of the situation became clear. Just moments earlier, the woman had stopped her vehicle at a fruit and vegetable stall at the top of the hill on John Deere. She had left her granddaughter secured in the back seat while she stepped out briefly to make a quick purchase. In a split second, something went wrong. The vehicle began rolling down the incline, unattended, with the child still inside. Realizing what was happening, the grandmother and another man ran desperately behind the vehicle as it picked up speed, heading downhill towards the highway. At that same moment, a young man named Timothy Thomas was driving east in the opposite direction of the runway vehicle. He noticed the car drifting unnaturally towards his side of the road. At first glance, it appeared as though the driver was losing control, but a closer look revealed that something far more alarming. There was no driver at all. Without hesitation, Timothy sprang into action. He pulled his vehicle to the side of the road, jumped out, and began running towards the moving car. At that point, he did not even know there was a child inside. Fueled by instinct and urgency, and with youth on his side, he managed to catch up with the rolling vehicle just before it reached the steeper decline. It was then he saw a little girl sitting in the back seat. Still without pause, Timothy climbed into the vehicle, took control, and safely steered it to the side of the road, bringing it to a stop. He then removed the child and returned her safely to her grandmother, who by then was overwhelmed with tears at this time, tears of relief. Because of Timothy Thomas' courage, quick thinking, and selfless action, a young life was saved that evening. In moments like these, we are reminded that heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they are just ordinary people who choose to act without hesitation when it matters most. I too, again, from Levy Talk Meeting Unfiltered and from Bounce Up Central, would like to also thank Mr. Timothy Thomas for his bravery and saving that child's life. He could have driven on and gone his way and just say these people or whatever. He chose to stop his vehicle, jump out and run down the car, and was quick in his thinking to jump into the car and stop the car from going further. I would like, as I heard Darren Marcel call on I-95.5, if I'm not mistaken, that he be awarded the Chief Secretary of Tobago, Fali Chavez Augustine, award this young man for his bravery, his heroics. Heroics, yes, yeah, his bravery in saving this child's life. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. It could have been a different type of news that we were going to be hearing now. Yeah. So I continued. I see that NUGFW, well, that is National Federation of Government Workers and something. They had their meeting with the CPO very recently, and this is something that came out of that meeting with the CPO.
It is important to note the value of this offer. The value of it is $2.6 billion. The recurrent cost of this offer to continue for it to be funded is an additional $250 million per annum. That's a significant cost. One of the things that the CPU placed on the table is that to treat with this arrears, we must consider non-cash options. The state has to act responsibly to ensure that jobs are preserved and jobs are created. So to offset this debt, but this is what it will be, I'm hopeful that the NGLW accepts the offer. Once they accept this offer, there's a debt to be settled. And this debt has to be settled with a mix of cash and non-cash. So the details of which the NGLW will speak to their membership about, and will come back to the CP hopefully within the next 2 days. And I'm hopeful that we can sign off, if not on Wednesday, by Tuesday, Friday. If we do sign off, the intent is to put the new salaries on after mid-year review, because this was not budgeted for. So the Minister of Finance, technocrats in the Ministry of Finance will have to work to allocate and find money to put on these new salaries in the month of June or July. I've also asked for patience and advocacy from all of those who were in attendance today.
Right? Well, what we are seeing is not unexpected, because NGFW and the leaders have a history of supporting the UNC, coming from Mr. Lambert. And it is alleged that this new President General was in the UNC meetings and all that, which is his right to go to any meeting he chooses to go to. But we see how things played out after. So whatever settling at 10% or no 10%, to me, in my opinion, there is political favor being granted for the support. My concern is, what is this non-cash payment? When people work, when the fortnight come and the month come, you don't get paid non-cash. You get paid in cash. So if I work for that period of time that is under negotiation and I got cash for it, so I have accumulated arrears, you can't now want to give me my arrears in non-cash. Because I work for it in cash. Otherwise, start to pay we in the public service and in the daily rated officer, start to pay we too in non-cash. Yeah? Arrears is cash, because your work for it is what you work for and you get paid in cash. But again, the CPO is just a vessel of the Minister of Finance. Everything the CPO does and all his directives he gets is from the Minister of Finance, who is in charge of the personal department, because they take instructions from him or her, whether PNM, UNC, whoever is it, the Minister of Finance instructs the CPO's office. So I'm seeing here the Minister of Finance, this is my opinion, I just say, well, I'm not giving it for the first time. No disrespect, I think he's a glorified accountant. I don't think he's suited for this job, but again, when UNC win, everybody wins. It says here, you know, he went outside to raise bonds and come back. Who is so excited about it that it was oversubscribed? So this was in the Trinidad Guardian. The Ministry of Finance said yesterday that the government, US $1 billion 10-year senior unsecured sovereign bond attracted demand for roughly 2.5 times the final offer size. The oversubscription came despite the country's carrying negative outlook from both Standard & Poor's and Moody's. A reality that framed the transaction was a credibility test rather than a routine refinancing exercise. And while I'm happy that the government could get money to help in this situation because there's so much things happening, revenue is not as it is, and they have all these unions to pay off their money and all that. I see today that teachers, well, the president of Twitter is saying that there's no industrial action. However, there was a lot of absenteeism at schools and all that, so they will work all the workouts. So anyway, I'm always happy if the government could get money to help to invest and to into programs and stuff that could create opportunities, zones of special opportunities for persons of this country so they could contribute and that could help with our GDP and that kind of thing. But all this happiness at the end of the day is a loan and it has to be paid back. So while now we may have gotten the US $1 billion bond raise outside, I am sure by next year, God's fear, later on this year, we can't get no money borrowed from nobody again because we will be in a worse off position financially because that money is not for investment into development of this country, it's to pay off existing loans and to put back money someplace where it has depleted so below that I have to put back money to raise it because those are the things that the IMF and them look at. And the IMF is coming here, I think, next week or some kind of thing. So is it just to put a facade for the IMF to feel that things in order? I just asking a question. But this loan is to be paid back, and we children could end up having to pay back this because they spread it out for 10 years. And within that 10 years, if things go haywire and down and whatever, they will need money again, and they will go, listen, IMF. So it's just like Peter Canhai, the chairman of National Carnival Committee. Boasting, but oh my God, so much people is oversubscribed in the Savannah. Yes, sir. It must be oversubscribed because it's free. And because all the fire so much people. Anyway, it have free thing when normally they have pay their monies and go. They can't go again. They can't go the first list of pattern because it's about 40,000 people without work. So if it have any free thing for Carnival, they will take advantage of it. That is not a clear indication and no success of the village, sir. That is a false premise, and that's all they like to do. So the crowd is bigger than usual. Of course it will be. It's free. And as I said, people don't have money, so they're going to any free thing. You can't use that to say, well, oh, they did booming, and look how the people utilize. Whether they buoy or not, the place would have ram out because it's FREE. Who wouldn't want to go and see Miss Patrice or Miss Nadia Baxon or to see Marshall or to see all them big entertainers for free? Who wouldn't go, young brother? Who wouldn't want to go and see them? Or Bungie or Fayan or whoever does be down there? Who wouldn't want to go and see them free? It would have been, I would have been rushing too. I ain't ready to go as yet. Anyway, so this one has to be paid back. So let's stop over, subscribe and go, yeah. Because if I can address now, because the thing, you will see. I'm also seeing, listen to this gentleman speak on that 1 billion.
Trinidad and Tobago has borrowed $1 billion to help pay the country's bills. This loan does not pay for new schools, hospitals, or roads. It does not create jobs or income for the country. It's mainly to pay off old debts and government costs. The loan is controlled by American laws and courts, meaning that if there's a problem, the rules will be decided outside of Trinidad and Tobago. This puts Trinidad and Tobago in a tough spot, as every year money will be sent out of the country to pay back this loan. Money that won't be used to help the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Right? Money to be paid back. So this, again, this is my opinion, glorified accountant. Because the things he's saying does make you feel so. He may not be so, but the things he's saying. So you know that they increase oh gosh, taxes on the local manufacturers, right? So this was in the Guardian a little while, about 6 days ago, and it says gas squeeze. Manufacturers up in arms over pending hike by state-owned NGC. I'm reading the whole thing, eh? The wholly state-owned National Gas Company, NGC, has officially informed local manufacturers that use natural gas that the price that okay. So the wholly state-owned National Gas Company, NGC, has officially warned local manufacturers that use natural gas that the price of the commodity will be increased by 60 to 70% by the end of January. The decision by NGC to increase the cost of natural gas to manufacturers comes as NGC seeking to renegotiate many of the gas contracts of petrochemical companies on the Point Lisas Industrial Estate and the Union Industrial Estate in Labre that expired at the end of the year. Only remember, it is alleged that the chairman of the National Gas Company, who is General Ramdeen, was trying to shake down Nutrient for some money with something with the down in Point Lisas and all that. And eventually, with all that shakedown, it is alleged Nutrient, because of the high cost and the this and the that, whatever them pull out. So right now, like they're looking for money. So if we don't have the multinational corporations here, you have to look at the local people who using gas. So like it's a shakedown with the manufacturers. But you know, it is alleged the manufacturing sector is a lot of people of Indian descent. So they might take the shakedown easy and don't say nothing. I don't know. I just say alleged, right? But you can have a conversation. So let me continue. The price of the natural gas in those contracts is also being adjusted. What do you think, going? Sorry about that, strips. I remember I said it's dirty strips. Sorry about that. The whole thing. Right. The price of natural gas in those contracts is also being adjusted upwards. Industry sources for Guardian Media. NGC even increased the price of natural gas sold to its subsidiary, Phoenix Park Gas Processors Limited, by 33.66% from $3 US and 75 cents per million BTU, MMBTU, to US $5.20 per MMBU. Listen, like it's a shake, don't take your money all over the place. This government is a hustler. They're operating like a hustler. They're operating like sprangers. You hear the word I put in like. They're operating like sprangers, like hustlers, like gamblers. Shaking down everybody any way they could get some money to run this country. So the manufacturers are up in arm because if them have to pay more for gas, we know the culture of this country. Anytime manufacturers and all of them get any increase in any bill of taxes or anything, them have to pay to make back their money. It has fallen on the customer. So here why I say this is my opinion that we Minister of Finance is a glorified accountant. Knowing that type of history, this is what our Honorable Minister of Finance had to say about the manufacturers getting a 60 to 70% increase in paying for the gas that was buy from NGC to run the company, the manufacturing companies. Here what he say. Finance Minister Ravindra Thakur says he does not expect certain manufacturers to pass on the cost of increased natural gas prices to their customers. I ain't reading no more. Because you have to be some kind of special. I'm not talking about the special community of the children that I support. I'm talking about something different, extra special. To be telling we that the manufacturers and them who only increase the price of the gas they're buying from NGC, that somehow they will absorb the high cost and it wouldn't come down to the customers. Okay, so you know what? Probably they're going to fire all this staff and keep 1 and 2 people. Maybe probably that is it. Maybe they will bring in way to AI because they have a minister additional transformation, some Dominic something. He is very ambitious, I understand, but he like a runaway horse. If you leave, he could put AI all over the place and nobody work, just AI alone, because he into that kind of technology, and I don't think he's taken into consideration the effect. You don't just rush into them thing lab last just when a society like ours, you have to do those things incrementally, but probably he wants to make a name for himself to say he do it. So probably the manufacturing sector go get AI alone to work for them, so then they have whatever increase in gas they have to pay for, they don't have to pay nobody, no salary. Probably is that, who knows? Anyway, let me continue. Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy. So he's talking about, that is our Minister of Finance talking about the fact that, and boasting that they were able to get this $1 million loan outside and people were willing to invest and buy it and blah, 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 whatever. And it shows that apparently it's not our credibility rating is high because despite what Moody and Standard & Poor's say. I want to just tell the Minister of Finance that in 2024, this is an IMF board. Let me put it here. This is an IMF report. IMF Executive Board concludes 2024 article, IV consultation with Trinidad and Tobago, immediate release, Washington, D.C., June 5th, 2024. On May 8, 2024, the Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, concluded the article IV consultation with Trinidad and Tobago. For the first time in a decade, Trinidad and Tobago is undergoing a gradual and sustained economic recovery. Real gross domestic product is estimated to have further expanded by 2.1% in 2023, reflecting a strong performance of the non-energy sector. Inflation has declined sharply, mainly due to the decelerating global food and imported goods prices. Banks' credit to the private sector continues to expand and the financial sector appears sound and stable. The current account is estimated to remain in a surplus in 2023, and international reserve coverage is adequate at 8.3 months of prospective total imports. The fiscal deficits in financial year 2023 continued supporting the recovery and was better than budgeted, while public sector debt remained below the authorities' soft debt target. Economic growth is projected to gain momentum in 2024, supported by the non-energy and energy sectors, and inflation is projected to remain low. The current account surplus will narrow mainly due to a decline in energy prices and energy exports, and is estimated at 5.7% of GDP in 2024. International reserves coverage is expected to remain adequate at 7.5 months of prospective total inputs. External public buffers in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund are large at about 20% of GDP. The fiscal position is projected to remain adequate, reaching a deficit of 2.7% of GDP in financial year 2024. This reflects low energy revenues, increased capital spending, and a higher wage bill due to the long-standing public wage settlement with some unions. The balance of risk is lifted to the downside in the near term, but there is an upside risk in the medium term. In the near term, downgrade risk stems from external factors affecting energy market, that is, an abrupt global shutdown, and domestic sources such as disappointment in production. In the medium term, upside risk stems from new natural gas projects in the implementation of planned structural reforms, which could boost growth. Executive directors agree that the trust of the staff appraisal They welcome Trinidad and Tobago's sustained economic recovery, sharp decline in inflation in 2023, and strong external position. Directors consider that while the outlook is favorable, the balance of risk is lifted. Right? This was the IMF reporting on the Trinidad and Tobago economy 2023-2024, which Dr. Keith Christopher Roy was the Prime Minister with his Minister of Finance, Kwame Ambert, and the rest of ministers. Let us see when the IMF comes next week, I think it is, what the report is going to be saying. Okay? Because remember, when UNC wins, everybody wins. Look. So let me read this here quickly. It says here, it's something written by one Vayash Nandial. I hope I pronounce his name properly. And it says here, so now the Minister of Finance, after killing revenue generating reforms like the Revenue Authority, after making promises that he had to know were unaffordable, after tabling a budget built on fantasy numbers, after finding tens of thousands of workers pushing families into hardship, after bungling negotiations and driving away major energy companies, after failing to consistently pay public servants on time, after taxing people more, doubling fines and jacking up fees, after turning economic growth into economic decline, is now blaming the PNM for his trouble. Not his own decision, not his own failed policy, not his own reckless promises. This government inherited a recovering economy and managed to wreck it in record time. And I just read to you from the IMF. When UNC win, what has happened again? So Kamla Prasad Bissessa has said no more money for the regional corporations. This was in Trinidad Express, Sunday, the 25th January 2026. Not a cent more for regional corporation. 2.1 billion is more than enough. Excuse me. I drink a little water. Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bissessa made a statement yesterday in response to complaints from several PNM controlled regional corporations, which said budget reduction has led to disruptions in essential services. Port of Spain Mayor Chinua Allen cautioned that a 40% reduction in allocation could negatively affect preparation for Carnival 2026 in the capital. However, in a Facebook post, Prasad Bissessa argued that funding levels were adequate and placed responsibility for service failures on management and workforce practices within the corporation. All of them are just show you this. Which he said I get enough money. So Port of Spain City Corporation, this is for garbage collection, scavenging budget analysts, right? And that is what Mayor Chinua Allen is complaining about, because usually after Carnival by Ash Wednesday morning, but in fact, at the end, excuse me, when Carnival finish at whatever time on Carnival Tuesday, Port of Spain don't clean. So the Kamla Prasad Bissessa said that they get adequate money and basically saying that there was no cuts, right? Port of Spain City Corporation under PNM budget in 2025, they got $21,300,000. Under UNC, they're now getting $13,267,200, a cut of 37.71%. While San Fernando Corporation get 13 million under the People's National Movement. Under the UNC, they get $12,712,000, a cut 2.21%. Arima Borough, under the PNM, got 4 million. Got $4,560,000 under the UNC. They got 6,071,600. I increased by 33.15%. We're going again. 0.14 Borough Corporation. Under PNM got 4 million. Under UNC, you get cut by $500,000. Chaguanas Borough Corporation. Under the PNM, they got $12,500,000 under UNC. Since UNC came in, they now get $23,517,770. They got an 88.14 increase, while Port of Spain City Corporation that had gotten 21,300 under 300,000 under the PNM now get 13,267,200. Chaguanas get 12 million under PNM. They now get 23,500,000 over 500,000. Let me look at the next one. Diego Martin Regional Corporation under PNM get 28,400,000. UNC cut it, they gain 23,256,150. Sawa Lavantil, them get a budget cut by over $9 million. Tarrapona Regional Corporation, which is one of the largest corporations it have, under PNM they get 42 million. Under UNC, they only getting 38,150,730. Sandy Grande, good I demo now, getting 24 million, an increase from 15,250,000 under PNM. Tabakit Regional Corporation under PNM get 21,500,000. Under UNC they getting $28,420,000. Rio Claro, Miaro get increases also. Superior Borough get increases under the UNC. DB, oh God, well, DB Regional Corporation from 8,500,000 under PNM they getting $22,114,000. Yeah. So when you look at the Port of Spain Regional Corporation, it seemed to be some type of discrimination because it's Beetham, Sealots, Laventille, Nova, all those areas are serviced there by the Port of Spain City Corporation from 21,300,000 under the PNM just in 2025 last year to the UNC now giving them 13 million. 12 from 21,300,000. If I was saying the wrong thing all the time, people, it's millions we're talking about, right? They're now getting under the UNC $13,267,200. So they're starving the Port of Spain Regional Corporation of funds, and she's saying no increases. Yeah, that is the wickedness and the discrimination against people of African descent by the UNC. Let me continue. When UNC win, PNM Corporation and African people does lose. So I'm seeing there was a problem in Maloney where garbage collection, nobody wasn't collecting the garbage, was all over the place and all that. So they remember Parliament until she come back out in ripping form, Madam Connie Robinson Regis. And this is what has happened or has happened in Maloney.
Oh, good. And this is what we're talking about. This is how to clean. Look at the man. He have a rake. He's scraping up the backhoe, picking up the rubbish. Oh my gosh, it's a bad smell. But they're working. I love it. And this is AGC. This is not the contractor. This is AGC doing this lovely job. Thanks to the councillor And to Ms. Kami Regis, thank you very much for hearing the people's voices and doing this. Thank you. Jeez, baby, that's not any else thing, huh? Walking all your age, you see walking.
So let's big up there to Member of Parliament, Madam Camille Robinson Regis. You know that she was away from Parliament for a long while. She had some medical challenges and she's back out. I understand that somebody, they removed the bins, big bins from in Maloney, so people had no choice but to put the garbage on the ground and nobody was coming to collect it. Somebody put it on Facebook, it was a mess. I understand it was sent to the Member of Parliament, it was sent to the council and all that, and we see the end result. That is PNM Member of Parliament and PNM Councillor working on behalf of the constituents and the residents of Maloney. So you all know yesterday the PNM celebrated the celebration of the 70th anniversary of the PNM. I think it became, that was on the 24th of January. So it would have been a couple of days prior, but they had the anniversary at the Winifred, somebody, I think director would like to hear me say Queen's Hall. I think it's Winifred Atwell Hall now, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. She was our famed, I think, pianist, if I'm not mistaken. Right? And anyway, at the hall. So as again, information on the People's National Movement, it says here, the People's National Movement, PNM, was founded in Trinidad and Tobago on January 15, 1996 by Dr. Eric Williams and officially launched on January 21st, 1956 at the University of Woodford Square. Formed as the country's first organized political party to promote self-government and independence from Britain, it emerged from a series of lectures by Williams. Key aspects of PNM formation. Founder Dr. Eric Williams, who resigned from the Caribbean Commission in 1955 to pursue local politics, and the purpose to build a national movement for constitutional reform, economic and social progress. The platform, the party was guided by the People's Charter, which focused on national unity, education, and social equality. Initial success. In the 1956 general election, just months after its formation, the PNM won 13 of the 24 elected seats, leading to Williams becoming the chief minister. The impact. The PNM marked the beginning of modern party politics in Trinidad and Tobago, leading the country to independence in 1962. And what is the PNM's charter? The People's National Movement, People's Charter, is the founding manifesto and governing philosophy of Trinidad and Tobago's first modern political party, established by Dr. Eric Williams in 1956. It emphasizes national unity, democratic socialism, economic development, and social equality, serving as the basis for the party's and historically the nation's policy framework. Foundation, the charter solidified the PNM as a structured party with a clear long-term program. Key principle, it promotes a multi-racial approach to national development, aiming to uplift all citizens through organized democratic means. Historical significance, It provided the ideological basis for the PNM's sustained political, social, and economic reforms from 1956 through the independence era evolution. The party has traditionally reviewed its core principles to adapt to new challenges, such as in 1970, when the party addressed the changing global and national landscape, that is, in the PNM perspective, in the world of the 70s. So that's just a little history there on the People's National Movement, its formation, and the charter. As it says here, it is a let me read it again. It promotes a multiracial approach to national development aiming to uplift all citizens through organized democratic movements. So while that was happening, I saw this young lady, she's the mayor of Diego Martin, would have wrote a big passionate piece on I think a Facebook page or somewhere for her support of the political party of the People's National Movement. Anybody is free to support who they want to support. That is the democratic right. So this is what shows. There are leaders who are placed and there are leaders who are forged. Penelope Becker Robinson is forged and prepared. Last night I looked on with pride as the crowd cheered her name over and over as she walked on stage. I looked on as a woman. I looked on as a young woman in politics, and I could see myself in her because the truth is Penny is me and I am Penny. Penny is every woman who dared to dream when the odds were stacked against her. Every woman who was told she was too much or not enough. Every woman who refused to give up anyway. You see, long before Parliament, long before Cabinet and international platforms, Penny started where leadership is hardest and least glamorous. Local government as a councillor in the Arima Borough Corporation. She dealt with real people, real problems, and real consequences. That grounding matters because it cannot be faked. She went on to serve at almost every single level of public life, and she would have outlined it. It is there for everybody to see. It's a very long list, very, very impressive list. So at the end of that list, she said, to be honest, there's so much more that could be listed, but this post would be very longer than it already is. Today, she serves as leader of the opposition and political leader of the PNM. Very few people, man or woman, can say they have served this country in all these capacities. Even fewer women have been allowed the space to do so, and that is the part the people love to ignore. Women in politics are expected to be perfect, patient, soft but strong, firm but not too firm, quiet but effective. We are judged, only remember that word and use it, effective, EFFECTIV. Right. Right. We are judged on tone, appearance, and temperament in ways men never are. Men are allowed to grow, fail, regroup, and return. Women are told one misstep is the end. Penelope Becker Robinson has endured the unfairness of resilience, with resilience, discipline, and dignity. She has had to work twice as hard and half the grace, and she's still standing experienced, capable, and prepared and loved. As a young woman in politics, I'm inspired by her journey. She represents what is possible when a woman refuses to shrink, refuses to apologize for competence, and refuses to step aside simply because it makes others uncomfortable. I will continue to stand on Penelope Robinson Beckers, my political leader, and I will continue to call on everyone to rise and support her too. Not because she's a woman, but because she has earned every bit of her place through unwavering service, relentless sacrifice, and unshakable strength. She shows us what leadership looks like when courage meets commitment, and I refuse to stay silent in celebrating that. So this was from Miss Akila, mayor of, very beautiful young lady, very ambitious young lady. You can understand that she was a councillor in the Diego Martin Regional Corporation. She's now the mayor. So I can see that there is a progression, and which is exciting that a young woman would put herself forward in that way. Very beautiful young lady. I want to tell Miss Akila Glasgow, she's free to support who she wants to support. And you're free to lay it on tick to support who you want to support. But you see the word effective. While the opposition leader, political leader, and always tell people, I'm not interested in the political leader. That's a PNM thing. My interest is always the opposition leader of Trinidad and Tobago, who has to be stand in the defense of all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. As the political leader of the PNM, you stand in defense of the PNM people. That's different, like party politics. You see the word effective, Honorable Mayor. That would just call him an excellency mayor of Diego Martin, effective, in my opinion. The opposition leader has not been effective in all them positions and all those things and committees and things she would have served. Have not been effective. She may have served. It have people come out, they have master's degree, this, that, whatever it is, and they just know book, They don't know more practical, but they have the degree. They had a master's, you can't deny them that, but what have they done with it? How have they implemented it? And in my opinion, that is where the opposition leader is at. All these things she have been a part of, I've never heard anybody come out and say she has done anything remarkable. So the problem is not the amount of committees and ministries and areas she has served and given service to do, which I commend her. Very nice lady, served. It's impressive list. Have you been effective? And that is the problem. Where's the effectiveness? I want to ask the mayor of Diego Martin a couple of questions because I like to ask questions to understand and further understand when people say things, because I'm sure people would like to understand when I say certain things. Darrell Smith was the chairman of the Diego Martin Regional Corporation. He then went on to become the MP for Diego Martin Central. Became a minister of sport and youth affairs, and we know all the stories that went with that. After that, Simon Nobriega, who is now the social media officer of the People's National Movement, very ineffective, just as weak as the opposition leader, in my opinion. Mr. Nobriega was the chairman of the Diego Martin Corporation, and he went on to be the MP for Diego Martin Central. He was the minister in communication or something to that effect. Then we had Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley resigning as the member of parliament for Diego Martin West. And Mr. Keela Glasgow is from Diego Martin West. And I understand she may have had aspiration when you look back at Darrell Smith and Nobriega, because she came out also of the Diego Martin Regional Corporation. She was a councillor, I understand, and then became mayor. Is it that her ambition was to be the next member of parliament taken over from Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley? Because coming out of that, we see Mr. Hans Veens. I have not seen Ms. Akila Glasgow before laying it so thick on the political leader, opposition leader of the People's National Movement. This seemed to be just something sudden. She may have been doing it, I don't know, but this public way is very sudden. And I just want to ask the mayor of Diego Martin, is it that you are hoping that after the local government election that you're kept on as the mayor of Diego Martin, because Diego Martin recently became a borough under Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley PNM, so that you feel that you have to give an extra icing on the top in support of the political leader and opposition leader of, well, really, this is a political leader situation. No, it's an opposition leader situation that you remain as a mayor in Diego Martin. Or is it also that you're hoping somehow that you can become the next MP for Diego Martin West because Mr. Hans Veens may fall out of favor? I don't know. I just asking a question, and by next election 2030, that you are the one that they would put forward instead of Hans Devines as the person to represent Diego Martin West in the upcoming 2030 election. So I'm just asking, are you posturing yourself, putting yourself in the rearview mirror so that the opposition leader and political leader, the PNM, will see you and say that you're loyal and give you that? Because other people have done that and we see where they have reached. They have gotten favor in terms of position. So I don't know if that is it, but all man to the order. I recently also saw one Mr. Victor Roberts. You know, recently I start playing his videos and stuff because he's talking out on the issues are happening in the UNC. So why wouldn't I play it? And now we see Mr. Victor Roberts. The man was dragging around coffin for Kamla Prasad Biswas all over the place. He's a UNC order man, very critical of Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley and the PNM, which is his right to do. Anybody right to criticize the PNM? He has now turned on the UNC and is talking about the ills and the baggages and all that happening in the UNC and no good for this country. Of recent vintage also, just so, Mr. Victor Roberts is out there now promoting the opposition leader or the political leader of the PNM, Mrs. Penelope Beckers Robinson, as the best thing after sliced bread. I want to know, it just okay. And went on to mention but who's spineless, ballless on I-95.5. I don't understand where that come in, because if it is the callers who call in on I-95.5 who speak out against the political weakness of the opposition leader of Trinidad and Tobago, that is their right to do, just as it's your right that you make your videos and just say all kind of thing about Kamla Prasad Biswas. You tell me about vomit down, you tell me about this, you tell me about that. I see you recently make a next one asking if Barry's a girl or a boy or whatever the case may be. It's your right to do. So it's the same with the people who call on 95.5. It's their right if they do not agree with the opposition leader, Trinidad and Tobago. Or is it the host of a program, Darren Marcel, who it is you're talking about? And if it is, he too, just like how you was dragging coffin for Kamla Prasad Biswas, now you just talk against Kamla Prasad Biswas, nobody will say you're wrong or whatever the case may be. Darren Marcel is free to talk about his issues with the opposition leader if he chooses to do that. And if he has a platform and he chooses to talk it there, just like how you have a platform and you're talking out against the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, where's the issue? Where's this coming now and all they're jumping in? I'm seeing UNC influencers who influence people to vote for the UNC, which is their choice, their right to do that. I can't vex with nobody because you know what's the code, all that. They are now on the bandwagon with the PNM. Just a mere 9 months after, and I had to ask, is it because they didn't get something? Or is it a genuine concern that they want to? Because just 9 months ago, they were convinced the PNM no good and the PNM corrupted and the PNM this, that, which was their right and their choice if they wanted to do that. Now you see them all up in praises for Penelope Beckers, and you have to ask yourself, what changed? The change? I don't know, I'm asking a question. But again, it's everybody right to do and choose and support who they want to support. I want to ask Mr. Roberts this question. He would have told us about some group that the UNC has to mash up the PNM base. I wonder if he forgot to put his name also. I just asking a question.
I want you all to ask Queen UNC. I want you people to ask Jolene John, ask David Lee, ask Philip Alexander, ask Khadija Amin, ask Barry Padarat if they are part of a 5-member team that was put together by the UNC executive to destroy, to eliminate, to mash up what they call the PNM base. Ask these people if they were given a mandate to dismantle what they call the PNM base, dismantle CPEP, dismantle URP, dismantle forestry, and at present, information reached me this morning where there are data collection taking place in every ministry, in every government institution, to determine, even inside of the public service, to determine who receive employment contracts under the tenure of the PNM, that they too would be terminated. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what is happening in our country. This is the level of wickedness, the level of deceptiveness, the level, ladies and gentlemen, of the wickedness that is now being perpetrated by the UNC on people that they consider to be PNM people. Ladies and gentlemen, we must stand up against this. We must stand up and defend the democracy of this country. The strategy, ladies and gentlemen, is to have these people believe that they would be moved from contract employment to permanent employment. That is the trickery that is being used by this administration. We must fight against this level of evil. We must fight against the draconian measures that has been implemented against the population. Let us stand and defend this country by all means necessary, legally, that is. I go on.
So I want to ask Mr. Roberts, with all due respect, are you a part of the trickery to make us feel that you're so going against the UNC and come up as a decessor, and you're so all up with the PNM, and you are one of them who trying to destroy the base? I just asking a question. It's ironic how you see things playing off, you know. It take a year yet, it take 2 years yet, and you see all these things happening. So we just asking a question, and so it is your right to support whoever you want to support, whomever you want to support. So let me move on to some other news here. So I am seeing MP Stuart Young is speaking about the incompetence of this UNC government. He said this was, well, it's not 11 hours ago, it was today. This is an example of UNC incompetence and the negative consequences of their continued imposition of hardship on Trinidad and Tobago. The price increases of natural gas up to 70% increases to our manufacturing sector is going to lead to increases in the prices of goods first. The citizens and consumers expect price increase with food prices as well. Kamla Prasad discussed the government's incompetence in the energy sector has far-reaching consequences that are already hurting Trinidad and Tobago. We are experiencing a loss of jobs and forex businesses shutting down in record numbers and higher prices to consumers. Who is winning? Stuart Richard Young, SCMP, January 27th, 2026. And he would have written that based on this letter. And it says here, Trinidad Cement Limited, January 26, 2026. Let me see if I can read this chat. Thank you for your continued, let me see here. I'm trying to get it open up a little bigger, boy. The thing ain't moving at all. The whole phone free, just right. Ay, mamma mia. Right. Dear valued customer, thank you for your continued partnership with Trinidad Cement Limited, TCL. We remain fully committed to delivering high quality products and maintaining reliable supply to support your business and the wider construction sector. Over recent months, TLC has experienced significant increases in manufacturing costs, including raw material, packaging, and general inflationary pressures. These cost escalations have materially impacted our production costs. In addition, a substantial increase in natural gas prices has been proposed by the National Gas Company to the manufacturing sector. Natural gas is a critical input in cement manufacturing, and we are currently awaiting the final determination expected on January 31st, 2026. TLC does not support the gas price increase and continues to actively engage with relevant stakeholders in pursuit of a more balanced outcome. However, based on the official information communicated to date, the expected increase represents a material and unavoidable cost impact that requires a corresponding revision to our pricing. If the proposed gas price increase is confirmed, TLC will be required to adjust its cement price increase shortly after to account for this significant effect to ensure the continuity and sustainability of our business. TCL remains a major contributor to the national economy, providing stable employment, supporting local suppliers, and generating foreign exchange through exports. Maintaining operational viability is essential to sustaining these contributions and ensuring uninterrupted supply to the market. We will work closely with you, our customer, to clearly communicate to end users the reason for this adjustment and the broader market conditions affecting pricing. We appreciate your continued cooperation and confidence in TCL, and as we address these external cost challenges decisively and responsibly. Then the Minister of Finance, you see why I have to call the Minister of Finance a glorified accountant? Then he just say that the cost of gas increase to local manufacturers, that the cost will not be passed down to consumers. Isn't TCL a local manufacturer? And they are already saying that if the gas prices go up, they will have to increase their prices for cement and whatever. Chat. Chat. Let me continue. Let me continue. So, at the function on Monday, the PNM 70th anniversary, this is a little excerpt from the political leader. In that space, she is not the opposition leader. And based on a protocol officer, she is not honorable, nothing. She's the political leader of the People's National Movement. So the political leader would have introduced persons and asked the crowd to recognize them. So listen to this.
So allow me to just acknowledge a couple persons. The chairman of the People's National Movement, the Honorable Marvin Gonzalez, party vice chairman. Yes, you can. We coming to the end, there's the grand finale. Party vice chairman, Senator the Honorable Dr. Amory Brown. Lady vice chairman, Dr. the Honorable Nyan Gadsby Dolly. Our Secretary, General Secretary, Senator the Honorable Foster Cummings. And I know several of the deputy political leaders are here. Mr. Shanjiv Budu, the Honorable Carl Imbert, Jennifer Batiste Primus, I want to especially acknowledge our former Prime Minister, the Honorable Stuart Richard Young,
Papa Laps. I hear that would have, I wasn't it? I hear that would have brought some disquiet to some. I'm seeing here from Live Zone, breaking news. The Zone of Special Operation Bill has not been passed in the Senate. Government needed at least 19 votes to become law. In the Senate, the law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, Bill 2026, votes for 15, votes against 14, absenteeism 1. The bill fails to pass. So let me read what Director always on board. Legislation by the government to create zones of special operation, ZOSOs, to replace the expiring state of emergency has failed in the Senate after 8 of the 9 independent senators joined the 6 opposition senators in voting against the bill Tuesday night. The bill needed a special 3/5 majority of the Senate to pass, which required at least 4 independent senators to vote in favor of it. All independents, except Senator Arthur McNish, voted against the bill when the vote was taken around 8:40 p.m. Senator McNish. All independents, except Senator McNish, voted against the bill when the vote was taken. So I think there were 9 independent senators, all voted against. Just now, all 9, well, not 9, 8, apparently, if my math's right, 8 independent senators voted against the SOZO bill coming into law, except Senator Arthur McNish. Just now. Let me read this thing. The bill needed a special 3/5 majority of the Senate to pass, which required at least 4 independent senators to vote in favor of the bill. All independents except Senator Arthur McNish voted against the bill when the vote was taken around 8:45 p.m. 8:40 p.m. So it means to say Senator McNish voted for the bill. Okay, I rest my case. So let me continue. So people,
Hey, farmer, see your messages. I promise you this ain't the road vestiges. Thanks for checking on me and my whole team. I see you asking if I finish with the road scene. I say I done with competition and you finish with the road. You good? So it's on a different episode. It don't matter if I call or if it is me alone. I will be
good. Plane flying there.
Hey!
You're sick? Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Jumping is the slogan.
It's a must, yeah. PNM respect Brad. Original party, the rest of them are fraud. Is it? Yeah, man, a top ranking. AKA by every day. AKA Mr.
Right? Just as my member of parliament continued to meet with his constituents consistently since he became the member of parliament, I want to thank the independent senators who voted in defense of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago in realizing that that SOZO law, it is flawed and it may, I'm just giving my opinion, what they may be thinking, that it will create even more problems in this country. Probably they watched that incident where tragically Joshua Samaru was killed and his common law wife or girlfriend, however you want to put it, is now paralyzed. Who knows? Could be the protest they saw outside Parliament today, could be all the activities they've seen on social media, people speaking out against it, could be people calling in to I-95.5, whatever it is would have make them in their conscience make a decision on behalf of all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to thank them. Yeah, just as my member of parliament works in the interest of his constituents of Port of Spain, North, St. Anne's West, and by extension, Trinidad and Tobago. So I want to say quickly, blessed night to my people that I have right on a list. It may have more. On Facebook is Margaret Davison Patterson, Yvette, Angela Rodriguez Lacroix, Ginger Pinta, Lorna Ortega, Manette, Sarah Richards, Emmeline Harvey, Christopher Coffey, Erica Richardson, we're only watching and not and only supporting me. Always my peeps on Facebook. Kate Marshall, Charles Crease, my whole family from Pune, and Shepherd Ophelia Boys, Andrew Norton, O'Hordon, Alison Boys, Helen Ross Rojas from Pleasantville. Hey! Roxanne King, me Tudo. I hear she brothers wonder, hey, you Jensen only calling her name. Yes, I call her she name. Roxanne King. Mel Bolty, Hadara, Ruth Fenn, Dr. Lloyd Straker, Lucy Brown, Cheryl Silly, Alison Philip, Germanas, Luzanne, Francia, Pancho, E.A. Shorty, Bernard Allen, the Jocelyn, Augustus, Kato, Victoria Tower, and she whole friends were meeting. Yep. McDonald, Banto, Katya, Roman, Felicia, Ellis, Alexander, Joyce Nevis, Margaret, Thomas, Angela Sobel, Denise Reed, Kim, Thomas Farrell, Rosalind, Norton, O'Geese, Diamond, Trini, Jewel, Blackberries, Myrtle, Joseph, Tessa Graham, Cynthia Jackson, Denise Cummins, Camille Dean, Mary the Hair, my whole friends on Carnage, Kevin, Mr. Nelson, the Wilshires that I met up at Eddie Has Celebration of Life and Death. The sexy Rasta woman I meet on Frederick Street, I think is Marva is she name. The ladies who will be lining on Frederick Street, my girls and them. I want to tell all you thank you all so much for all the support. Let me see who here across and bounce up. Quick. Joyce and White, Diamond Girl, Annette Moses, Cicely Jerome, Vernie Will, Rosalind, what man I call Rosalind across here too just now. Let me see who again. Donna Walcott, Maria Lyons. Oh God, where think tell me? This one. Mr. Gibson, 29 Super C. Well, the bill pass. Thank you, Jesus. Go back to the table and come with something more equitable, more real, more equal, less discriminatory. Kenneth, who again? Who's saying Papa Laps? Whatever. Lordy, somebody saying Lordy. Who is that? Attila Nayabo. Who again? MHK something. I missed it. It don't go on so far, but MH. Benny Q. Who again? Jones. Hey, let me see who again. Who again? Sedina. You know, long mean here was from Sedina, but Sedina, yeah, I didn't know David Clark. Listen, thank you all so much. For saying lockdown tuning to maybe talk the thing people. Friday, it is Tuesday. Check me on Friday because when I come with something fresh, something new, I want my little things in between. Those are journey, my little quips, my little talk. My little short videos and things, those are journey. Any little thing I put out, all the support now, you know. If you like it, no scene. If you like it, still no scene at the end of the day. This is a free place, a democratic place to like, to do like, support, do support. It is what it is, right? Everybody had their style, everybody had their crew and their audience. And I love you all for always supporting. I want to thank Director again for me being on this platform and that we continue to work together in the interest of all. Bringing the information, bringing the receipts to show, while still having my opinion, which I'm entitled to have. And I will say it again. Who vex lost and who want to cuss, they could cuss because everybody have the rights to whatever and whatever. The opposition leader at Trinidad and Tobago is politically weak. I know she's a very nice lady. I know she has worked in different places and all that. That is quite okay. What about effectiveness? What about being remarkable? What about doing something we could hold on to? In a REMA, if you go ask the constituents, ask yourself why she don't have much things in a REMA. I just saying, ask yourself. In a REMA, go talk to the constituents of a REMA. That is what I will say there. But at the end of the day, she is a political leader. I have nothing to do with that. My concern is the opposition leader, Trinidad and Tobago. That's what I keep advocating for. I'm not interested in the political leader and paying people and the business and the bacchanal who they choose, who didn't go up for election, who didn't contest. I talk about the opposition leader, Trinidad and Tobago. And I not see her doing anything. In fact, someone could look at it and say probably them working to keep PNM in opposition. I could come to that conclusion based on what I'm saying. And this conversation about having a quiet demeanor and they have strength, yes, that has been true. Some people quiet, but they have a strength about them. However, I don't see it. I don't see it in Ms. Penelope because if only seen it, I'm glad for it. I am seeing her represented in the parliament. I'm not seeing that strength. She get up to ask the question and tell the people what number that she had to sit down, and when she asks it, is a street that the corporation does deal with, and she asks the minister of transport that works about it, the minister works at a township, but the corporation does deal with that. Now, them little unforced errors does make it even worse. Make it even worse. That's what I'm saying, and I'm entitled to say that. Again, I support my member of parliament, Stuart Richard Young, SC, who ain't know that, don't want to know that. That is my member of parliament. That's what I just vote for. I just talk straight and people don't like it. I don't dislike nobody, but at the end of the day, it is not a pity party who like who and who find who nice. Ain't about that, you know. Me not to like nobody, you know, I want them to do the work. I want them to defend the citizens, especially in this time when people are dependent on people's national movement to take you out of this morass. That is my interest. Yeah? Don't discount the young people. Don't discount young people. So talking about likes and hugging and cheers and all that. Those things are important. Because if you come up on stage and nobody clap for you, nothing will feel a house. So don't discount the clapping and who have likes and don't discount them things. Don't discount the young people. In 2030, plenty of them now will be able to vote. People, see you all on Friday, God's Spirit. I go on. Director, what I need to do again, I was always like, end the stream. But watch me now. Every time you tell me, I just forget that.
Some of them don't like me. Some of them just fight me. Some of them wish bad on me. All of them could go their way. Some of them just back up me. And them feel like don't know. But I couldn't care less. All of them could rock so. Rock so. Rock so. You could rock so. Stay over there with your bad energy. You could rock so. Rock so. You could rock so. Stay over there with your bad energy. You could rock so. Live my life. I just wanna live my life. And I don't make my choice. So I go pay the price. Yeah, live my life. Just live my life. Yeah, I don't make my choice. So I go pay the price. Some of them don't rate me. Some of them they hate me. Some of them like bad on me. All of them could go their way. Some of them try laugh at me like I'm a puppy show. But I couldn't care less. All of them could rock so. Rock so. Rock so. You could rock so. Stay over there with your bad energy. You could rock so. Rock so. You could rock so. Stay over there with your bad energy. You could rock so. Live my life. I just wanna live my life. And I don't make my choice. So I go pay the price. Yeah, live my life. Just live my life. Yeah, I don't make my choice. So I go pay the price.
I know they like me, you know, though, but I will get through regardless. You dig?
So I go pay the price. Yeah, we thankful for life, health and strength and all the vibes. Don't know we survive. We just wanna get with life. Some fall with the vice, with them evil eyes. Risk it for the price. We don't need the price. So I go pay the price. Yeah, live my life. Just live my